Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And tonight, I want to welcome you to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream. And what else is on board? If you are a member of the channel, you can be in the chat room. On Wednesday night, only members of the channel can be in the chat room, but everybody can watch. Do you want to be wealthy? It's very simple. There is a playbook. What you must do is what we're going to talk about tonight. But number one is, you guys know at the top of the list, assets, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to get into it. This is a very special edition because I always like talking about this because people think it's very hard. And yes, it is very hard because you need disposable income. You need extra income above what you're making without paying all the expenses, or with paying all the expenses, and whatever's left over usually is not enough to where you can put a chunk into assets. That's where the problem lies. So that's why the younger you are and the sooner you get an asset that pays you, the quicker you can get to wealth. But we have a lot to talk about regarding that as well. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please share the videos. That's what we have to do here because the YouTube gods show us no love. But make sure you smash that like button on the way in as well because YouTube gods show us no love. Social media shows us no love. That's why you need to go down to the bottom of the description box if you're on YouTube and if you're on podcast pages, and click on all the social media links. That would be greatly appreciated. So then you can spread the word, because what we're trying to do is rising tide lifts all boats. If everybody is doing well, that means everybody's doing well, right? That's what we're trying to do here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only way that the survival rate increases. Other people have to know what to do. So then you know what to do. You pass it on to your children and loved ones and friends. They know what to do. And bottom line is everybody wins. That's what we're trying to do here. We know some people try to stop us, but that does not matter. You do the right things, you can make things happen. Laverne Penix is here, ladies and gentlemen. He's also known in this YouTube street as Mr. Cool, an investor himself, business owner himself, and all around good guy. Welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream where he has that icon I humbly appreciate. And he brings his tagline this evening. Hello, SSN Nation. I hope everyone is doing well. I received the notification and he saw the trailer. Thank you so much for that. Exactly. I need to make a new trailer, even though we have about 10 different ones. But now I found out they're moving some of my stuff along the line in the YouTube channel where I can add it. So I was like, oh, man, I got to make a new one now. So nonetheless, thank you so much for that. I'm very, very happy you're here once again. I greatly appreciate that. Victor Marrero, who has just retired, about to be Mr. Worldwide. T-minus, I don't know how many days. In fact, his worldwide tour might have started already. But welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream with that icon I greatly appreciate as well for being a member of the channel. And he brings his tagline, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, all. Let's do this. And when he says, let's do this, we bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Just keep in mind, bring the boys and girls, the children. They don't have to cover their eyes and close their ears. This is not R-rated. This is G-rated. So everybody wins. So when they learn younger what they can do to be wealthy, there's a thing that happens. They start understanding, hey, wait a minute. They might start studying when they're 15, 13, 12 years old. And I have to admit, I was lucky enough when my parents were like, you know what? We got this Shell stocks. They send us dividends. Dividends? What's that? You serious right now? Yep. So that's why we're investing in this oil companies, because they give us dividends every few months. I was like, free money? Gotcha. Bet. I get it. All of it. So when you have conversations about making money, the younger you are, then making money is not a foreign object to you. So thank you so much again, Victor Morrell, for being in the house. And before, you know what I love about seeing Victor Morrell, because it reminds me of things. It reminds me of investing. It reminds me of the different ways you can invest. It reminds me of his 30, 35, 40-year journey of investing. And along that journey, one of the easiest things to do once you make the money and have money coming in is to invest in equities, which are stocks, bonds, treasuries, whatever, but stock market. And when you start investing in the stock market or your 401k, your own personal 401ks or things like that, all of a sudden, when you do retire 30, 40 years later, you now have a nest egg that you've built up. And you didn't have to build up all of the nest egg yourself. There could be 20, 30, 40% of your nest egg, maybe 50% that got added just because you put money into this nest egg, created wealth for you because you are actually buying assets. That is major. And so what reminds me of him is simple things for everybody out here. Stock market investing for beginners and well-seasoned investors. ETFs, dividend funds, some of the best ones. And so I'm going to start it off because I like it, because Victor Morrell always has these VOOs that we talk about. That's a Vanguard group. Schwab Group, SCHD. I like that. Then I love JP Morgan. Now, don't get it twisted. JEPI, JEPQ, because they're like a Fed bank. So that's why I warned you to have your pen, pads, and papers ready, because those JEPI and JEPQ, I haven't looked at them lately, but you're going to get around probably somewhere between 9% to 10.5%, depending on which fund is going to be higher. That's your return every year for whatever you invest today. And you can go to sleep and you're going to have dividends of that percentage amount every year. What are you going to do with those dividends? You're going to withdraw them, or you're going to just reinvest, let it keep rolling. So therefore, you're buying more shares of stock, so your dividends keep going up while you're sleeping, while you're working, while you're on vacation. You don't have to worry. As you're going through life, you just let it, set it and forget it if you want, or you can add more to it so you have more shares that make you receive additional income. That's how you build wealth. I'm going to show you something that's going to be very interesting, because it's something I do about once every 4 or 5 months. And that is, we look at charts. We go by statistics around here. We go by looking at what the wealthy invest in, what you consider the wealthy. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Let's get things straight. This is the SSN Nation. This is not Showtime. This is not you going out here buying some watches, overpriced watches, so you can do bling bling and then do what? Bling bling? Okay, fine. Everybody can buy what you want. It's not going out here buying the Lambos and the Ferraris and all that stuff. Unless, of course, you're going to be buying, one of 30 or one of 50. Now, of course, that's a limited edition. That means the value is going to increase. That means just simply holding it a year or two, you're good. But these liabilities, you have to stop. I'm imploring you to stop, because you cannot afford to keep buying liabilities in 2024 and beyond. Now you have to buy assets. The wealthy buy assets. All right, Victor Morrell, he breaks it out first. He says, to be wealthy, establish a long-term goal and invest on a consistent basis. That's it. Start by paying yourself first every month. That's what my mom used to say. Invest in the stock market, regardless of whether it's up or down. Very, very wise information. Because after 20 years, you're going to look back and be like, damn, all I did was put in this little bit and look how much this has grown, because the stock itself has grown. Just like all the people just 2 years ago who bought AMD, who bought the hottest stock on the market right now, NVIDIA, all below $100. And now if you had 10 or 20 shares of stock, you could be holding 100 to 200 shares of stock at today's prices because it split 10 to 1 in just 2 years. Now, 10 to 1 doesn't really mean you gained anything, but what you did gain was from under $100 to over $1,000 per share. 1,000% on your money. So you can imagine somebody who spent $10 and bought $400 worth of shares 2 years ago. That's how you build wealth. It's that simple. But again, not every stock performs the same. So I love this information to begin with. Thank you so much, Victor Marrero. I appreciate that. So let's keep it moving. Smash the like button. I'll get in shortly. I'm going to bring something up, but we'll get into Joe Nay. Another investor is in the house. Welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream with that icon next to his name, which I humbly appreciate. And he brings his tagline. What's good, SSN Nation? How is everybody? You know, everybody's here. We're all doing good. We keeping it 100. That's what we do here. It's 100, ladies and gentlemen. There's no fluff. There's nothing we're telling you where we're going to say, hey, we're going to sell you a course. That's right. You want to find out more? We have a course. Unfortunately, that's not us. You have a question? You need to ask it. Email me at support@stopstrugglingnow.com. We don't have anything that I'm going to tell you, hey, in order to talk to me, I'm going to charge you. None of that's happening either. The other factor, while I'm talking about it, you need to join our WhatsApp chat. All right? Join our chat group. WhatsApp. It's simple. I have to approve you. So if you join during this live stream, then you probably won't be approved till after. But just come in there. We talk about right now, the conversation has been about Larimar because we have a person that bought at Larimar, which you love it, you hate it, a new pre-construction project, which could be an asset. Well, no, could be. It will be an asset whenever they get around to building it. But the guy is new. He doesn't know that people have been buying for 2 years or put money in since 2 years ago. And so we know it's not going to be delivered, the first phase, in 2025 and a year from now, September of 2025. We know that. It's not going to be delivered in September of 2026 either. They haven't even started building yet. No groundbreaking. They're still having to deal with permits and license and all this stuff. And there's no way to know how long permits and licenses are going to be. But nonetheless, I love the conversation because he doesn't know that other people have already invested 2 years ago. He just showed up and know there's supposed to be delivery March of 2026 for the one he purchased is what they're saying. But other people, we're like, what are you talking about? That's not possible. That's only a year and a half from now. Or almost, yeah, about a year and a half. And they don't even have a building foundation even built. So again, he's optimistic because he's buying now. The rest of us are like, it's been 2 years since we've been paying. We have nothing to show for it, and there's nothing on the ground. So we have different perspectives. So again, a lot to talk about regarding that, but that's part of the wealth building. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, but at the same time, it's easier when you have equities that gives you dividends or increases in values like an ETF, like a QQQ, right? Some SCHD, like we said, Vanguard, VOO, but don't forget VOOG, the OG, VOOG. They also have a technology, VCR, but now Victor Marrero, he mentioned something on the Money Making Monday live stream, which we haven't talked about probably for a year or maybe even 2 years, SMH. I forgot the chip ETF. You know, the chip stocks that everybody knows NVIDIA. Some people know AMD. Some people know TSMC. Some people know these other chip companies. Apple now is a chip company. So they're trying to make their own chip. So you should be investing in that chip companies Well, that ETF, FSMH, does. And there's 26% percentage points increase on average over the last couple years. So just keep that type of thing in mind. That's where things are going. AI. Victor Marrero says, if you start in your 20s investing 500 per month in 25 years, you'll almost have 1.4 million. The earlier you start, the better. Real estate assets are great, but maybe too much for many right now. Exactly. It's so easy to just do the stocks. So easy because you can put $20 in. You can buy partial shares. Fractional shares is what they call it. So therefore, you don't need the whole amount. You can sit there and say, okay, I only have $50 left over right now that I can put in. Okay, well, buy it. Robinhood and Webull, if you still haven't downloaded any brokerage account, Robinhood and Webull apps are down below, easy to use. Get your free shares of stock by just simply downloading on Robinhood, down below in the description. It's sitting there for everybody. All right, it's very, very easy. And he's very right. And you want to know what's really interesting? There's a lot of people in their 20s who made a lot of money from 2010 to 2020. You want to know why? Because they invested in Tesla when Tesla was $10, $5, $15, $20 a share. Tesla has split several times. It went up to $300, $400, $500 and higher per share. So all them people that bought shares at $10, a guy bought 10 shares for $100. Next thing you know, those 10 shares is worth $5,000. Next thing you know, it goes up to $800. Then they do a 3-to-1 split. Then the shares go back up another 100% on top of that. Next thing you know, this guy has like $100,000 sitting around. Now it's whoever invested in AMD, Nvidia. Now they're winning because all it would have taken is about $500, 10 shares, and you would have 20 grand, 25 grand right now from a $400 investment just 2 years ago. So this is what I'm saying. When Victor Marrero gives you this one, he's talking about conservative investing, and it's going to be 1.4. What if you had a couple of Teslas, a couple of AMDs and Chipotles and things like that have gone up to 10, 20, 1,000 percentage points in a matter of only a couple of years. And then down the line, now you had $100,000 all of a sudden in 2 years in your account. And from there, the stock market just simply performs normal. 9% this year, 15% another year, 3% another year, a 20% one another year. You understand that's 200,000, 150,000 added on top. Now you understand why you want to get there sooner, because then you'll have your money working for you. That is key to the whole thing. You have to invest early. And I wish in school that they taught everybody to buy an FHA multifamily property the first thing as a home. They don't want to teach you that, but I wish they would have. Because in this way, you have your duplex, threeplex, or triplex, and all you would have needed is 3.5% down. And when something costs $300,000 or $400,000, and somebody says you need 10,000 down or 12,000 down, and now you can have up to 3 units if you get a fourplex that are renting from you, and they're paying your note plus you have a little profit left over, and that's where you live. I wish they would just teach that model straight out the box. I'm not mad about the competition. I just wish they would teach that, because then people would understand if they lose their job, because jobs are going to get more and more scarce. Mom and pop businesses cannot pay you minimum wages of 25, livable wages, $25, $35, $40 per hour. Mom and pop businesses, they generally can't sustain that for too many employees. So now you have to fall on corporations. Corporations don't want to pay you either, but all they do is they initially get people in there with high paying jobs, but over time they end up wanting to replace them with lesser qualified individuals and younger, because younger will say, I don't need that $150,000. I'll take that 60 grand. And then they're going to do the work of 2 people that they just laid off or got fired or retired. And that's what we're talking about. So we want you to win from the beginning, and it's never too late. If you're 50, 60, 70 years old, don't fret. You still have to invest if you can. Because I'm going to give you the story. I wish I would have pulled it up before this, but I did not. I can only give you the story now. There was a lady that was roughly in her early 70s. She started investing in Apple again in the 2000 eras. Her investment, because they split like it was 2 or 3 times from the time she invested $20 to $50 or $100,000, she had millions in a matter of a 10 to 12 year time span of Apple, because Apple increased in value and it split. So the prices she bought at was I don't know what the number was, but let's just say it was $20. And let's just say she got a few thousand shares. But those few thousand shares turned into a split of 4 to 1. Now she has 4,000 shares. Then there's another split that happened. I can't remember what it was. 2 to 1, let's say. Now she has 8,000 shares. Then all of a sudden the Apple price goes up to $300. 8,000 times $300. Anybody? Yeah, exactly. So now in her 80s, millions. So this is exactly why you should be doing the investment thing. And I've been talking about equities, and there's a reason I talk about equities. Victor Marrero, here he goes. He says stock market is fuego. It's going to be fuego. Just about anything and everything is going up. Bought 100 shares of NVIDIA yesterday at $125 each. Earnings announcement will be next week. I'll be milking it with options. Yes, NVDY on YieldMax ETFs. N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, D as in David, Y. Go to YieldMax ETFs and you will thank us later, because as long as NVIDIA keeps rising, it looks like we now have known about these for over almost 2 years coming up. The thing is, this was a new thing. We don't know what was going to happen, because if the stock price goes up, the underlying stock price goes up, the underlying asset price goes up too. But that's not what we're in this for. Why we're in this is because if something gives you 40 or 50% return on your money, then what's the catch? The catch is it's high risk. So now if you have a volatile stock that's going up and down, and you buy, let's just say $1,000 worth of stock, and somebody tells you that you're going to get $500 this year, you're going to be pretty happy at 50% return. But if somebody says you buy $1,000 worth of stock, but that stock goes down 10% or 20%, now let's just say you have 20% downside. The stock is valued at $800, but now you still get $500. That's kind of not really the win you want. And maybe you'll sit there and say, well, I'll just collect $500 per month every month as long as they're giving me that dividend. So eventually I'll get back to that amount I need, which is going to take us 12 years. I'm just saying that's too long. So what you want to happen is buy a stock, have underlying asset returns of high rate of return of 50% or more. And then that way, when the stock price goes up 10, 15, 20%, your value of the stock you invested in initially, you're still going to be happy on that $500 per year. But actually you reinvested it. So now it's not going to be $500 per year, because the next year, $500 reinvested means instead of 1,000 shares, you might have 1,020, 1,040. And so now you're getting $520 per month. So now the money is making money for you over no other investments. And that's why it's wise what Victor Marrero was talking about earlier, to always keep investing. And so that way, just what he's talking about here, he invested 100 shares, $125 each. So we don't know when his next investment will come. But if the stock price all of a sudden went down to 115 or 120, you should be getting some more shares if you believe in the company, because what's going to happen is your dollar cost average will go down. The same, your dollar cost average will go up. But right now, before August 28th, this is going to hover around 125 until the cat is out the bag. What do I mean by the cat is out the bag? People, okay, there's a few people already, the accountants and NVIDIA already know where they sit for the earnings call. they may tell a few people. So you'll all of a sudden see the stock price start creeping up or start creeping down because somebody might have leaked, oh, the earnings isn't what it was supposed to be. They missed it. Stock price starts plummeting. And if it does, you should be picking it up. If it goes from 125 to 110, 112, 115, you better grab it. Because there's people laughing all the way to the bank right now because it went down to 91 just 2.5 weeks ago. People picked it up. In fact, we have Joe Nay in the house. He was there in the early mornings around 9:30 a.m. when it dropped to $91.16, 15 cents. He picked up shares. So when it went up to 125, he's happy. 30% return in 2.5 weeks. He's happy as hell. So is a whole million other people. But it only dropped prematurely just for about 2-3 minutes. You had to be paying attention. You couldn't have been at work doing it. But what you could have done in your Robinhood or Webull app, you could have put if this drops down to $92, buy. You could have done that. I'm just saying, there's options out here. You have options on these apps. You can do that. Just like you can say, hey, if it drops down to, I want to keep my profit. If it goes down to 120, sell. So that way I keep my 30% profit. I'll come back in when I want to. So see, you have all kind of options. So you don't have to do this. Just wait till it goes up, wait till it goes down. You can take profits anytime. So there you have it. Thank you, Victor Marrero, for that information once again. And look at here, we have the superstar, Mr. Dividend Investor himself is here. Mr. Dividends in the house. Welcome, Brian P., to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream with that icon next to your name, which I greatly appreciate. And he says his tagline this evening, hey, Eric, I hope all is well with you. Hello, SSN family. Smash that like button for the trifecta. Thank you so much for that. And we are making money in here. That's right. Brian P., Mr. Dividend, he's an aficionado for the YieldMax ETFs. This man has 2,000 shares in one, 1,000 shares in another. Let me explain to you. When we're talking about 1,000 shares, he could have spent a $12 stock. $12,000, a $14 stock, $14,000. If somebody told you you can spend $14,000 and you can get $1,000 per month, would you take that? You heard me correctly. If somebody told you they would get dividends of $1,000 per month if you give them $14,000, you would say you've lost your mind. I don't believe you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you better go to YieldMax ETFs and go check out what the returns are for their income option producing treasury bill holding ETFs are. Because that's what's happening here. This is how much he's getting. He has 2,000 shares of stock at another location. Not another location, but with YieldMax, they have, I don't even know now, probably 12 different or 13 different YieldMax ETF stocks. 2,000 shares. How would you like to get $1,500 one month? $1,200 another month. At the end of a year, $15,000 spent and damn near $14,000 or $13,000 returned in dividends. Does that sound like a winner? It's high risk, but again, if the stock does not drop to zero, even if the stock dropped where your value was $10,000 worth of stock, but you got $15,000 back in dividends, I think you're still ahead. You only put out 15,000. You have 25,000 total. That's where you want to be, right? But if that underlying stock continues to creep up, then what if the underlying stock went from 15,000 that you originally bought for, you got 15,000 or 10,000 in dividends, we'll call it 10,000 in dividends, 15,000 is what the stock you bought. What if the stock all of a sudden goes to 20,000 in value? Now you have 10,000 in dividends. That's 30,000, ladies and gentlemen. You reinvest it. That means you just now bought another $10,000 worth of that same stock. But now instead of getting 1,000 a month, now you're getting 1,800 per month. That's the game. That's why we talk about YieldMax ETF, because they give out crazy returns. But again, high risk, high reward with anything that gives out above normal rates of return on your money. That's always high risk. So just keep in mind, you got to study, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't just easy stuff. You got to study. All right. NVIDIA closed at 128.51 today. So I made $300 in 24 hours. See, there you go. Just like that. Yes, I'm hitting myself for not getting in at 90 plus last week. I promise I won't make that mistake again. Yes, exactly, Victor Marrero. Put out some alerts, because if this thing drops $10 like it has done, I don't anticipate that occurring in the next 7 days. Earnings call comes out sometime on the 27th, 28th. It reminds me of having an envelope with one of the officers of the corporation when they come down and being in the parking garage, you know, seeing somebody with behind the scenes, behind a pillar coming out, giving an envelope for, you know, $1 million. The dude gives them the envelope, letting them know. So then that way, early in the morning before the markets open, 4 a.m. like Webull, when you can trade, they're in there buying the shares or doing shorts on shares because they already know what the outcome is going to be. That's how I always look at these earnings calls. It's very, very interesting. But nonetheless, yeah, you should not, because every big corporation has to buy from NVIDIA for the software if you want to be up to speed. I said this on Monday. This is almost like the automobile industry when it first came out, and the automobile industry in the late 60s. Because in America, I'll do the late 60s. And in America, they were building these big cars that only got 10 miles per gallon, 8 miles per gallon, because our gas was, 19 cents or whatever. So they totally ignored the economy. They said, man, we can always sell these big ass cars. They hardly gets any mileage. Meanwhile, Honda, Toyota, Datsun, and all these other companies in Japan, they were sitting there going, there's a market. We got to do these 3 cylinders and 4 cylinders to get like 25 to 35 miles per gallon and sell it for half the price. United States says, hold up a second. We got to put tariffs on you. We ain't going to let you be bringing any cars over here for half the price, because everybody's going to buy those. So they have to, instead of 50%, they got to sell it for a third less than American vehicles. You know what happened? Americans ate them up. How many of these can I get? Are you serious right now? I can fill up my tank, go for 300, 400 miles versus fill up my tank and go 40 miles, 50 miles in this big ass car? I don't think so. That is why the Japanese, German, and all those cars came to America. Honda, Toyota, and all these guys, Nissan. That's how it happened, because the United States did not adapt, and they took advantage. And to this day, they're still here, still giving out quality and something a little better. The mark of great customers service situation. It's a mark of a great company when they go, you know what? We're going to make sure our customers have better quality and better pricing. And that's literally what has happened. The only thing the the Japanese market and the Asian markets haven't done, in my opinion, is one thing that's no longer needed. And that is making that supercar, like the old Supras, that supercar. Sure, they have them, but that's not their focus. Their focus is on cars that you can buy our cars for 25 grand. They're going to last 200,000 miles. And you're going to have great gas mileage. And guess what? You have total service for 2 or 3 years. You can't beat that. We have American car makers now charging us $75,000 to $100,000 for cars. So now the Asian market says, thank you very much. Even Hyundai is still around. Kia, Korean car companies are in the mix, because American car companies want to do crazy stuff. So this is what's happening out here, and you have to be careful. What you're going to invest in matters. Are you going to invest in EV stocks? They were hot a few years back. That is the future, but the EV market, there's no infrastructure. If anybody's tried to rent one of these things, you're going to go crazy. I did rent one, and I went crazy. Brian P, 100, exactly. He's on track. All right, Fed Chairman Powell will speak this Friday. There's a catalyst right there, ladies and gentlemen. There's your catalyst. He's going to say it. First of all, you don't have to wait till Friday. He's gonna say it. I believe he's gonna say it. We had a meeting. Most people agree that we should decrease the Federal Reserve rate. So there's a catalyst right there for all stocks to go up on Thursday. So if there's any dip in the market between now and Thursday, you should buy. We all know in September they're going to raise the interest rate, or reduce the interest rate. What's interesting is the mortgage companies have already started reducing their interest rates. Can you believe this? You can get a 5-point-something% loan right now. They've already started. This is incredible. So now the bull run for homes, which could be an asset, is going to be started. It's going to be starting something, ladies and gentlemen. Fed Chairman Powell will speak this Friday. A high expectation for him to lower interest rates. That will launch, oh man, the SPY, VOO, QQQ, SCHD. I told you he was going to talk about this. I left out the SPY. But I told you, Victor Marrero, that's his go-tos. And some of these give out, 2%, 1%, 3% dividends. But that's not what it is. These things going up 9, 10, 11% on average every year on a bull run. They could go 15% on a bull run. That's why the bull run's coming. This is why you're going to be wiped out if you don't have assets. This is why I've been talking for 39, 45 minutes, and I haven't even brought up this yet. Hey, Eric, remember Yugo cars? Yes, I do. $2,700 in the 1980s. Yes, I do. I had a car business. Well, you guys, most of you who are new here don't know, but maybe I should give that story again on another day. But long story short, there used to be a loophole. There used to be let's just put it this way. They doing the same thing. Car companies are doing the same thing now that they did in the 80s. They started raising the price of vehicles, so people had to buy cars way above what they needed, and they would have 20% interest rate loans. It was insane. So people would have 5-year notes, which at the time wasn't a thing. They started doing, instead of 3 or 4, they changed it to 5, 60 months instead of 48 or 36. They started doing 7 years, 6 years, and it was crazy. But the one thing that happened is people had notes of $400 a month, $300 a month. So I found a way to bypass, because those people were getting in trouble. They would default. And in the 80s, you default on your car loan, you were blackballed. There was no, you can walk in another car dealership and get a car. That was, you're blackballed. All you could do was go down to that pay here, buy here kind of crap that's going to charge you like 30% interest. And the car's crap. So now what I did was, when these people couldn't pay, they would come to my company. My company would find another person to pay their note, which kept their credit good. And the people that paid the note would get the car in the end once they paid it off, because they already signed over title. It was beautiful. And back then you could insure another person's car. You didn't have to live in the same household. You didn't have to do anything. They changed the laws in America, in the West Coast. You can't do that anymore. They changed the laws. So no longer can you insure another person's vehicle that's not registered to you. You can't take over payments on somebody's car and all that crap. They made actual laws. You can't do it. So that's how they blocked it. And that is a big mistake that they're doing again now. You're allowing other people to move into your market because they're charging too much. All right, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, those were the days. Cars for 3K. Exactly. I know exactly how much they were, because I had people buy Yugos, come into my place and said, hey man, this car is garbage. I was like, it's a throwaway car. Everybody knows that. This thing's only going to last 2 or 3 years max. I said, but you know what's funny? It's only $2,750. And by the way, a Hyundai was also $2,750, $3,400 for a 4-door Hyundai that got like 30 miles to the gallon. And the Yugo also got great gas mileage, but it was a little crappy car. But that Yugo is so funny because people were buying it. Yes, I even had people turn in a Yugo. It was hilarious. I drove the Yugo. So most people would be like, I can pick any car. I can pick the Vet. I can pick a BMW 7 Series. I can pick a Cadillac because I had them all. But what do I drive around in? The Yugo that gets like, I can't remember the mileage. I think it was 30, 35 miles per gallon or something. I'm driving in this piece of crap car. And people would never know what I did. That's why I always did it. I drove in the 4-door Hyundai and the piece of crap Yugo. They'd be like, this your car? Yeah, it's my car. And they'd be like freaked out because people value at that time in the 80s, it was out of control. Calvin Klein jeans for $150. Gloria Vanderbilt jeans women were buying for $200. Torn up jeans and stuff that people wear regularly now were like $300-$400. Special edition, made by designers. Crazy crap. Just outrageous crap. Clothes outrageous. So I would be the anti. I'd be like, well, no, clothes wise, I was younger, so I was. But again, that's a whole nother story. I'll get into it one day because I haven't even gotten to the clothes story. But it's always best if you I'll get into it now. First of all, if you're in the clothes, first of all, if you live in New York, LA, San Francisco, even Chi-Town, even Miami, some of these places have garment districts. If you want to have the clothes that you see the stars wear, then you go down to the freaking garment district. Why? The garment district has all of, let's call it irregulars. They have also samples, like in other words, stuff that you might have even seen on a runway. There's only like 6 made. They're somewhere. And that's the stuff I used to have. And if you know the sample stores, yes, ladies and gentlemen, just like Walmart has test stores, clothing stores have test stores. They don't tell you which ones, though. But if you're lucky enough to be nice to your selling person, if you're nice to that person and talk to them nicely and, get a rapport, maybe you'll find out that they are a test store. What does that mean? That means they're sending boxes of new merch that they're going to sell. That's the hottest stuff, but they're not quite sure that they want to sell it in that market, in that store, that city. Next thing you know, they get the box. You get the phone call. Eric, we got the sample box in. You might want to come down and pick up your stuff because they don't have a sales price. It's not MSRP. It's a sample store that they're just going to put a price on it. It's not to be sold in a retail environment, but it's supposed to be sold. What I'm trying to say is it's like leftovers for them, but it's the latest stuff. But there's only like 1 size or 2 sizes of each. So nobody else is going to be wearing it. And that's how I used to get all my clothes. And people would be like, oh my God, where'd you get this? I would tell them, but then they wouldn't even go do it. I'd tell them I got it from this store. Go tell them Eric sent you over there. Tell them every time something comes in, you get a sample. Only one person out of like 20 people I told would do that. So that's how I always had the nice, freshest stuff. And people would be like freaked out because they're like, how the hell you get this stuff? It's not even, they would always ask where you get it, how you get it, what's going on. We've never seen this before. I'm like, you never will. Because I knew how many sizes there was. I'm like, I'm the only one in the city with an XL. There's only 5 others in the city. So the odds of one of us 5 to run into each other is slim to none wearing the same thing. And you can't buy it. That's the kind of stuff that you got to learn. And you got to learn some other stuff. I won't get into that. Make your own clothes thing. I'll get into that another day. Oh my God, those were the days. Exactly. Here's the investments of the wealthy. Let's get into it because what are we talking about tonight? Assets. Do you want to be wealthy? Then how do you be wealthy? You spend less money than everybody else to begin with on expenses. Let's just start this off like in the real. Your expenses are killing you. If you have less expenses than the other person and you have more money that you can put towards investing, you win. That's why the rich win. They have more money that they can put towards investing. They're not doing anything magical. They're just saying, here, I have I make $300,000 a year. I'm going to put $100,000 into an investment. I'm going to wait and sit there and say, hey, wait, that $100,000 in a year, it went up 30%. Thank you very much. I got a $30,000 increase on my investment. Thank you. Either take it out and invest in something else or let it ride. Take your pick. But the point is, you got $30,000 that you can now invest in something else and give yourself a chance to get another 30, 40, 50% again, plus the 100,000 you already had on top or inclusive. So either way, hopefully that explains. But check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. This is different. You guys have never seen this one before. Investments of the ultra wealthy. I want you guys to see something. An ultra wealthy, ultra high net worth individual, is a person with net worth over 30 million, including primary. Okay. This is very, very important. Primary residence is not an asset. This is the worst thing that ever happened. This is good for banks, mortgage companies, lenders, insurance companies, builders, developers. This is great that they want you to buy a house because they don't make land anymore. Come on now, stop with that. It's funny how they've been using that same line, realtors. They don't make land anymore. You better get yours now. I'm like, since when can't you buy land exactly? Land. Discountlots.com. No credit check, no qualifying, no barriers to entry. Somebody will let you make monthly payments. You can buy land, lots, acreage, you name it. Multi-use, agricultural, you name it. Go look. Discountlots.com. We get you there, ladies and gentlemen. We lead you to the water. It's up to you to do something with it. All right, here we go. Look at this. Primary and secondary homes over here on the right-hand side, 32%. Now, I'm going to keep saying this. Look, the most affluent individuals own 3.7 homes on average. What do they mean by affluent? That's the guys who made investments. That's the guys like Victor Marrero. That's the guys like Laverne Penix. These guys who make investments with property. Because the reason why the affluent does this is because it's monetized. They can rent it out monthly. They can rent it out short term. They have options. They can go down to the bank and say, hey, my house that I bought like 10 years ago for $150,000 is now worth $550,000. Can I get a loan for $200,000 and go buy another asset that pays me? That's the opportunity you get. So that's why they opt in for that type of thing. But here's the point I'm trying to make. If your first maneuver is going to be, I'm going to go buy a $500,000 house, have a $3,500 to $4,500 house note, including insurance, property taxes, and HOA, and all ever else that's included, you've just off 4 G's a month, 5 G's a month that you have to put towards your house. Now, some would say, like they always argue, well, then what are you going to do with rent? Rent, you're throwing money away. Well, the difference between a home and rent, the rent is what you're agreeing to pay for versatility. But the point I always make is no matter where you live, you're going to pay. But the question is, do you have money left over to invest? Because there's a lot of people that I know, like I said, my old neighborhood where I used to live, I told you guys my favorite video was the one when I would come outside at 2 o'clock in the day or 10 a.m. in the morning, and I would be in my street just going, look at here. Where do you think all these people are that own these $1 million homes? Where do you think they are? How come nobody's out here with me? How come there's nobody at the park right behind my house? Where is everybody? Everybody thinks all the rich guys don't work. All these dudes are working. Their husband and wife are working. Only people that's retired in my neighborhood was the guy that actually was a Victor Marrero type. The ambassador lives up the street. The CEO of some tech company in San Francisco, he lives up the street after he's like 70 years old. Those are the only guys home walking their dog. Everybody else, they got nanny, on Pierre at the house to take care of their kids because they can't get back home until freaking 8 at night because they got high-powered jobs, right? $140,000 a year, $200,000 a year. That usually means travel. That usually means you got a team. That usually means you got a lot of things going on. So they can't, hey, kids got basketball, kids got football, baseball. Yeah, not both parents can even be home on time because they got jobs. They're using their money for to live in our fancy neighborhood. That was their thing. They always come, me, we're throwing our parties, we're doing our stuff. They're like, man, what do you guys do? Me and the wife are home chilling every day. They see my daughters pull up thinking that my daughters live with us and stuff like that. No, I just got a big house. That's fine. They can come visit. They can come stay. Anybody can come visit and stay. I don't even care. Anybody can come stay as long as they want. We got enough bedrooms. We got enough food in the cupboards. They always wondered, what do you guys do? What's going on? And I'd have to explain to them, we don't have to do nothing, because what we did was we've been making investments in assets for a long time. Long time. So those assets pay for where we're living. So I don't have to do anything other than videos. That's the whole reason I started doing videos, because I was sitting there like, damn, I should just start doing videos trying to help people out. Why should I be doing this? Being selfish. But that's the whole point. You want assets to pay for where you live. You don't want to have to work. If you lose your job, how are you going to keep your place? You can't. And all that money you gave up, what was that worth to you? And if you have a loan, when you buy a house, damn it, man, you guys know how I feel about this. All I'm going to say right now is we'll do this another day. When you buy a house, just look at the numbers. You put down 10 or 20%, it does not matter. You do a 30-year loan. Let's just say you do a full 30-year loan. Go find out how much money you really put into it. What do I mean by that? I mean by your mortgage. I mean by the insurance every year. And if you have an HOA, I mean HOAs. If you have to do lawn service, water, sewer, and garbage, that's mandatory. You start throwing all of that in the bucket. At the end of that time, you've already paid double the value of the home. So again, when my neighbors used to go, man, I bought this in 2003 and it was $500,000. It's worth $1 million now. And it's like 2018 or 2016. I'm just like, dude, you've been paying 14 years of our freaking property tax was $12,000 a year. Yes, $12,000 real estate taxes a year alone. So I'm just like, dude, you've lived there like 15 years. You've paid 15 times 12 already in property taxes, damn near. Never mind the special assessment for 2 Gs we had a couple years ago. I'm like, what? I said, that right there is damn near $200,000. And then you pay like $3,000 a month for the last 18 years. That's like $36,000 a year for 13 years. I said, that's damn near $400,000 or $500,000 right there. Plus you add the other 100. I said, you're already over the $500,000 and you still owe another 12 years worth of $3,000 per month. I'm like, you ain't actually gained anything. And 12 years from now, which will be another 6-7 years, the house is going to be worth 1.8, 1.9. But you damn sure going to pay 1.3, 1.4 anyhow. If you were to put all that money into well, you can't, but if you put all that money into a 10% annual return, you would have a lot more over 30 years. I'm just putting it plain and simple. All right. 32%. I don't like this stat, but this is what it is. Average individual, affluent. Affluent means, you know, the multimillionaire guys. They're going to own 3 homes. That makes sense. But let's get to the other part of this wheel. The other. Look at this wheel. 5% for other. Crypto assets, 1%. I don't blame them. Oh my God. Gold, 2%. The ultra wealthy don't even own that much gold. I love this, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been telling people I don't like gold and silver as a major investment. I used to say 3 to 5%. I never saw this wheel before. 2% is what they have. This is what the ultra wealthy are doing. What do I always say? Whatever the wealthy dudes are doing, that's what you should be doing. Investment of passion, which is art. Almost 6 in 10 plan to invest in art this year. Who's the one that's been telling you over the 5 years, other with Eric Franklin, when we're in the Philippines like 3 years ago, where we're talking about art, and I've talked about art before. Don't sleep on art because it is one of the highest, hear me again, highest return on investment over the last like 5 to 10 years. Yes, you heard me. That's why they have art here for the ultra wealthy. That's what you should be thinking too. That's why collectibles is a thing. All right. Commercial property REITs, 3%. First of all, this is what we recommend is REITs. ORC, ARR. Go look them up. ORC, ARR. Check it out. AGNC, PSEC. You want 13 to 17% return with a REIT? There you have it. In this environment, this is the excellent time to get a REIT because the interest rates are coming down. The REIT's going to refinance their loan and loan packages. That's going to reduce the amount they owe. That means they're going to give more in dividends. Think about it. And their stock prices have dropped. So you're in a perfect position. All right. And in PSEC should be around 16 to 17% again, just like it was in 2020. I'm still getting 17% return on money from 2020 because PSEC. Just saying. All right. Now, commercial property funds, which is fine. That's like a PSEC, 5%. So nothing major. See, they're doing nothing major. That's not the bulk. Private equity venture capital. That's when we're doing our investments. Like when we did Instavid AI. That still hasn't came to fruition yet, but we're trying. We'll see what happens. Bonds, they got 12%. Now, that's a very interesting number because bonds are fixed. So when you start saying 3%, 2.5%, 4% in bonds, they say, well, they're ultra wealthy. That could be, that's $30 million. So they might have $1 million or $2 million into bonds. That makes sense for them. If somebody says every year you're going to get $120,000, you would say, hell yeah, I got 30 million sitting around. So here's $1 million. Let me have 120,000 a year, $10,000 per month. And all I got to do is sit here. Is it tax-free, tax exempt? Yes, it's tax exempt. Oh, so where do I sign up? But I'm not saying that's the return though. 12% won't be the return. Bonds are going to be 3 or 5%. So we'd only be talking about 50,000 on $1 million or 40,000 on $1 million. But nonetheless, you're still getting liquid. You're still getting asset money. It's an asset because you're getting a return. Let's see what they got down here. You know it. Commercial property, 14%. Now, 14% of their overall 30 mil. Look how they have this spread out. Notice there's a spread. Diversified. That's what we do. That's what we teach you here. That's why we don't say just go with REITs. We don't say don't have any gold or silver. We don't say don't do art. Do some art. We don't say, this is why over the last 5 years, I've been telling you guys to get almost all of these except for bonds, other than treasury bonds. There's nothing wrong with it because at one point they were like 4 or 5%, just like a half a year ago to a year ago. But now it's probably under, I think they're down to 3.5 or somewhere like that. But nonetheless, that's stable. It's government backed. Commercial property, direct ownership of assets like offices and industrial real estate. This is what we're talking about here. Equities, those are stocks, ladies and gentlemen. And notice 18%. The biggest pie is this primary, secondary homes because your home has a value once it's paid off. All right. But the reality of the situation is you don't count your home, your primary residence, as an asset in reality. So the most they invest in is equities. That's why we talk stocks here. That's why we talk real estate and commercial real estate, short-term rentals, multifamily. That's why these two are the biggest block. The only thing missing on here is something that they've already achieved. And what's missing on here is businesses. Businesses is what's missing on here. Equities, commercial property. Commercial property does not include business, right? I mean, it does from a commercial property standpoint, but on this list, there's no property. So I'm going to show you another list. All right. Here's the other list. Here's how the ultra wealthy invest. Just what I just showed you, that list, right? Let's see if they show the other list, though. Here we go. Luxury investments. Here we go. Art, watches, wine, classic cars. Remember, classic cars are different than just a car. Jewelry. Remember, jewelry is different than just any old jewelry. This has to be tagged. You have to have the authenticity cards. It has to be the real deal without any obstruction. Tiffany, for instance, there's a reason people buy the Tiffany brand, even though they overpay, but it's because if it's from there and you have the authenticity tag, you're good. So these are the type of things you have to look at. Notice this list. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to say wine on occasion, maybe in the last 5 years, only 2 or 3 times, because they know I invested in a winery in Napa. Classic cars, I'll throw in with luxury cars, like I mentioned earlier. These are limited edition. Classic cars are limited edition. So any vehicles that are limited, whether you're going to buy a new Lambo or buy a Ferrari or whatever, if it's limited, then the value goes up sooner. Jewelry, luxury handbags, I'm not a fan of that. Rare whiskey bottles, interesting. Furniture, yes. I have people come in our house and they say they're going to buy our furniture. Again, you guys know the stories. I buy, well, not me, the wife buys special. She has an eye for this stuff. I got a little bit of eye, but she's got the eye. We buy stuff that designers, again, I'm into this thing about when a designer makes something and he made one for a show, one for a client, one for the new home builder. And then when it's done, the home builder's done with his stuff and the person doesn't want to buy all the furniture. They take it down to a certain store. That one thing that they made in this location is at this store. And if you know the store doesn't sell it to you because there's no value. There's no value. What I mean is they don't sell it to you for a ridiculous price. The place is giving it to them virtually for free. Then they just go, well, nobody else is going to want this thing. We'll just put $500 on here or $1,000 on here. Nobody wants this. We'll see how long it's going to sit. Here I come walking in and I'm like, oh, damn, that's a designer thing. They don't know who made this. What's going on? This thing's worth like 10 G's. So then I come in and say, hey, okay, I'll give you $500 for this. They go, really? It's been sitting here for like 30 to 45, 60 days. I said, I know. You guys know who I am. I've been in here before. They're like, yeah, okay, well, you can have it for $500. And then people come in the house and then they know what it is. Some people do. And they'll say, man, where you get this? What's going on? Because once you know where to buy stuff and not be a consumer that you're taught to be with TV and online ads and things like that, once you know where to buy furniture, once you know where to buy all these things, except watches, those are harder to art and watches. Once they have a value, it's not like you're going to find wholesale unless you go to an estate sale, right? That's about the only places that you're going to be able to get watches, art, or what's even funnier, how about storage unit sales? You'll be surprised. Every now and then you'll find a storage unit that somebody didn't pay because a rich person, they lose their money too, and they can't pay it, and there'll be watches and art in there. I used to do it all, ladies and gentlemen. I was a young gun out here. So that'll be another story another day. I never really told you guys about my my storage auction days, I don't think. Coins, another rarity. You got to know about your coins. Everything. I'm surprised collectibles isn't on here. But colored diamonds. Oh, yeah, this is a lost art, quite frankly. Colored diamonds is a lost art. Again, you need paperwork. You need clarity and VVVSs and all that. You got it, and then find out you bought some fake stuff or lesser quality coins. So notice now the growth of the uber affluent, here's the problem. And there were roughly 579,000 people globally with wealth that exceeded 30 million. You guys see this number, right? Only 579,000 people out of 8 billion. Only. New York, Tokyo, San Francisco are home to the most ultra-rich individuals worldwide. Over the next 5 years, this number is projected to reach 744,000, a 29% increase. Why is that going to happen? Because of all this. These guys bought all this stuff, these equities, this commercial property, the bonds. The guys that have $20 million, they're buying all this stuff too. And when these things go up 20, 30, 40%, that pushes them into the $30 million mark. That's how they know that it's going to go up 29%, because you're going to have a 29% appreciation over 5 years. Hell, you're going to have a freaking 50 to 100% appreciation over the next 3 years. That's why I'm trying to be proactive to get you guys to understand where we're going to end with all of this in 3 years. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be absurd out here. And those secondary homes for the ultra wealthy were mainly their vacation homes. They have no need to rent short term. Exactly, Victor Moreau. Exactly. That's why people will see on TV that all the people who are wealthy, you'll know they're wealthy. How do you know? Because they'll go, oh, I have a home in Aspen. Do you live there? No. We just go up there like once a month or once every 6 months. But the thing is, it appreciates because they did buy the $2.5 million pad. And they know year over year, next year, it's going to be worth 3. Or if it's a hot market, all of a sudden it's worth 4. Just like the LA market. It's stupid. Ellen DeGeneres is selling her house for, she bought her house for whatever she bought it for. She just made like $2 or $3 million. But they're going to tear her house down. They bought her house for $2 or $3 million more, and they're going to tear her house down and build a new house that's going to be worth probably double the price. How insane is that? Because of that market. It's insane. So that's what the ultra wealthy get away with. You can't get away with this. They already have $30 million worth of wealth. They can go do not stupid. They can go do what the wealthy do. They just roll in and be like, hey, man, I wanted to buy this apartment complex or this fancy home that's worth $5 million. And you know, I have, I got about $10 million wrapped up into commercial property and my primary home. Can I borrow about 3-4 mil? And they go, sure, you can borrow it. Interest only, 1% good for you for 10 years. No problem. So now they go buy the home, let it sit there, use it once in a blue moon for 5 years, turn around and sell for almost double. You guys don't know. I mean, this works everywhere in all high-end locations. Idaho in the mountains, Aspen in the mountains, Lake Tahoe in the mountains, Big Bear in the mountains. I mean, this happens everywhere on the West Coast, so to speak. I don't know about the East Coast, but in the West Coast, all the time. Park City, Deer Valley's next to Park City. It's insane what happens. So that's why these guys just buy these secondary homes and only own them for a few years, because the price value, a few more million in a few years by letting it sit. And so what if you paid 2.5 and maybe another $500,000 over the last 2-3 years? Who cares? They're going to make $1.5 to $2.5 million. And this next bull run, they already have secured the bag already before it started. Because that $2.5 million home, 2 years from now, somebody's going to buy it from them for almost double. So what if it cost them $1 million payments over the last, which it won't, because they have interest only more than likely. But so what if they've paid $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 over the last few years, when you're going to get $4 or $5 million in profit? So all I'm saying, that's why we talk like this, because on Wealthy Wednesday night live streams, ladies and gentlemen, every now and then I start going deep. So what I'm going to show you is another chart, and this is the chart that I've shown for the last 3-4 years. The guys who's been here, they're familiar with this chart, and this is the chart that you need to go by, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going by the 30 million ultra rich, but you now know what the ultra rich are doing, right? Hold on a second. I got to do something else. I shouldn't neglect everybody here regarding this, because I'm going to put this chart in the chat room so you guys can actually click on it and check it out yourself. You can check that chart out yourself. That's the ultra wealthy. And then I'll put you to the other one. Where is it? Oops, that's not the one. I'll give you this next one as well. This is the other one for ordinary people. As I call it, the OCs. Transferred in Florida. It's still not over yet, but I just know 2.5 years, because she had a will. All right. Instead of to people. So that way it just goes direct. You don't have any interference. You don't have a probate. You don't have judge. You don't have court. You don't have to deal with none of that BS. Don't have to pay lawyers because somebody wants to act stupid. You don't have to do any of that. So just keep that in mind as you're accumulating your wealth out here. I want to show this. This is my favorite chart of all. This is because it's OCs. What assets make up wealth? This I love so much, because once you look at this chart, there's no dispute about what you need. Look at this liquid. This is based on your net worth tiers, 10K, 100K, 1 million. Notice liquid cash. Why are you keeping cash on you? Your cash should be working for you. So notice it starts decreasing. The 10 million, look at the 100 million. Cash, what's that? 10 million cash, what's that? Notice primary residence. The less net worth you have is because most people's primary residence is a loan. You don't own it. They use the term own, but you don't own it. Because as long as you have a loan on there, you are at jeopardy of, if you don't pay or you don't pay your property taxes, it can be taken. So therefore, that the people who have less net worth, look at the home. Look at this. A big significant liability. That's a liability. Huge. And notice what tier you're in. But notice this is not a mistake. Notice as you rise in net worth, look at what happens with the primary. It ain't. Come on now. Pay attention. This is the simplest chart of ever. Vehicles, not an asset. But look, people are out here. What are you doing down here with the low net worth? Oh, I got this house. I got these cars. Look at this crap. Notice the net worth, though. Notice when the net worth starts rising, all of a sudden you have less cars. You might have more primary residence, but as soon as you get to that 1 million level, it's clear. Look at the cars. Look at the house. Things start decreasing. What starts increasing? Look at the blue. The blue, ladies and gentlemen, businesses. Look at what starts happening. Businesses. Once you get to 1 million, notice what's growing. Look at what happens when you get to 10. Businesses. This is my favorite chart. Look at retirement and pension funds. When you have low or 1 million net worth, look what happens. Why? Because a lot of people have 401ks. You done work for 20 to 40 years. You now have your pension. Notice right here at 1 million. This is where a lot of people are after they invest properly from working on a job. They're in this 1 million, 1.5. Some people are lucky enough to be in the 2 million range, depending on what cycle you have been in the last 40 years. But the point I'm trying to make is notice how huge this is. This is where the working class comes in. You've actually worked for the 30, 40 years, and you made some sort of other investments, have business going on, have investments. This is why you're at 1 million. But notice what happens when you go from the 1 million to the 10. Look at this. More business, because that's blue. Business interest is blue. And all of a sudden now, this here is real estate. Notice it starts popping back up again into a nice little block. Real estate. Now notice the next one is light blue. And notice this light blue starts getting interesting. Managed assets under trust. Fixed income investments. Notice that starts popping up. See, they're not up here anymore. They're just slivers. What have we been talking about? Notice stocks all of a sudden pop in a little bit bigger. See, at the 1 million mark, we have stocks. But notice what happens. Look at all these blues that show up, starting to get bigger and bigger. This should indicate to you what you should be doing. Business, we talk about. Real estate, we talk about. Fixed income investments, those are dividends. We talk about stocks. We talk about. Notice the 1Bs. Look at where these guys are. You guys noticing anything? Look at the sliver over here. Now all of a sudden that house isn't so important no more. Cars ain't that important no more. Now, granted, there's only like 2,700 billionaires on the planet, but I'm just giving you an idea. This is what you should be looking at. This down here is what you need to be investing in. And this is what the OCs we've been talking about for 5 years. You guys, we've been talking about this for 5 years. We're going to be talking about it for another 3 years. All right. So I'm going to put this in the chat room. This is your playbook right here. This is the playbook right here. You don't have nothing more to discuss as far as I'm concerned. This is the playbook. You want to do some damn things, then this is the damn thing you do. And you have to put in work. This ain't easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be able to do it. This is not easy. We out here slaying dragons. When you work at your job, you're slaying dragons. You know why? Because if you work for somebody else, you are under their thumb. If you don't toe the party line, they could ostracize you. Oh, he'll never be the leader of this side. He's never management material. He's never partner material. You could be under all kind of scrutiny because of views you have. Oh, I voted for that person. All kind of things. Oh, you're black. You're Asian. You're Mexican. Whatever. All kind of reasons. Even though you can do the job, there's all kind of reasons. Oh, hey, hold on. His nephew just graduated from an Ivy League school. We're going to put him above you. You follow what I'm saying? You're at the jeopardy of someone else. So therefore, you have to put away any money you have towards assets that pay you. Don't be buying cars, doing crazy stuff. Like I said, shout out to all my friends at Delta Dental when I was a young gun. When I talk with them, they're just like, I'm going to work here. We're all in our 20s. Well, not all, but a lot of people in our 20s. I'm going to work here for 30 years. Why? Because we're in the union. And because good. We're getting paid like double the average wage, which is great. A lot of money to put away in the 401k. So all my friends, 1.4, 1.3, 1 million, after 30 years, they're good. Perfect. So those are the type of things that you have to decide. Are you going out here along your path, going out here being like the Joneses, which means my coworkers that I worked with at the time, if somebody went out and bought a new house in a new neighborhood, then other people would follow. They'd go, oh, yeah, I should be getting a new house too. That's right. Let's get a house. Wasting a lot of money, literally, because they're following the Joneses. Oh, you got a new car? I got to go get a new car. He can afford it. because we have this, we know everybody's salary. He can afford it because we make the same amount of money. If he can get that car, then I'm going to go get a better car. This Joneses thing. You have all these liabilities you're out here buying. Credit card. Oh, I got to look cool, do this, that, and the other. But when you turn that around and start going, what's cool is assets that pay you, then all of a sudden that changes your whole perspective on everything. All of a sudden now you're like, man, I could be anywhere in the world. Wait a minute, why am I sitting around here? I could be I'm going to be anywhere in the world. I don't need to be sitting around here. Let's go. I can be any place, anytime, anywhere. That's what I used to tell people when I was younger. They'd be like, man, I wish you can come down here and do whatever. I was like, man, I can be anywhere, anytime, anywhere. And of course, that's hard to tell somebody when you're in your 20s, right? They're like, what do you mean? Like, I wish I can get Melly Mel on. He used to own John Robert Powers down in Carlsbad. And even though we're near the same age, he's a little older, but he owned John Robert Powers in a few places, Sacramento Bay Area and Carlsbad. He sold the one up in Sac to get Carlsbad. So he's down in Carlsbad. He needs help. So he calls people, he calls people like, hey, man, I need some help. They can't roll down and help him. He calls me, hey, what you doing, man? I said, where you at? Because he knows how I am. I'm like, I'm in Sac. I need some help down in Carlsbad. I need this, that, and the other. Mel, I'll be down tomorrow. I'm just like, no problem. So I'm down in Carlsbad for the first time because I never used to hang down there. I love the place. Or Oceanside, Carlsbad. I get a spot at Blue Marine. I think that's what it's not called. Blue Marine. It's called Blue. I can't remember the name of the place. But anyhow, Blue something in Oceanside on the beach. That's where I hang out. Hidden spot. And I'm down there, and he's like, "Are you got a spot?" I said, "Yeah, I got a spot. It's on the beach." He's like, "You didn't have to do that. You could have just stayed at my house." I'm like, "Nah, man, there's too many beautiful women around here. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Forget that. I'm staying down at the beach." And we're sitting there. Anything you need help with, I just roll down. So these are the type of things that you can do when you can be anytime, any place, anywhere. Victor Marrero is now Mr. Worldwide. He can be anytime, any place, anywhere. And oh, by the way, somebody in the airline industries, we used to have a certain thing that we could do as well. They used to have passes that were extremely friendly, meaning we can go anywhere, anytime, any place by just having a pass, round trip. They've changed that greatly over the years. But back then, our friends, we'd call up, and our friends worked with Southwest and United and things like that. We would have passes. So we just pay somebody $150, $200 for passes instead of paying, so we can go anytime. So we'd always have these, they were standbys, but there's always, stuff available on that flight. So we could always go at the drop of a hat. So once you have this type of lifestyle and you're used to it, then it's normal. But for a lot of people, not normal. But that's what the wealthy do. It's not normal when you're wealthy. It's not normal because most people are working their asses off, rightfully so, because most people are buying liabilities. We got to buy assets up in here. You have 3 years, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've been talking too long, but you got 3 years. 3 years. That's all you got. Hey, Eric, what did you do back then? Hey, man, I told you. I had a business that disrupted the car industry, for starters. I had real estate that was over millions of dollars. So I had rental money coming in from that. And stock, a little bit of stock stuff. So I could be any place, anytime, anywhere. Because I always had cash coming in. Never had to worry about cash flow. And I didn't. And after I left Delta Dental was because I just got tired of Delta Dental. I was just like, I had an office. And so, okay, picture this. I work at Delta Dental. I have an office already, making money for that. And I had my own condos already in my 20s. So I had assets already. So I had rented out my condos, I had a business, and I had a job. I just got tired of my job simply because they were hiring people ahead of me when we have stats. Because I worked in data information. So we had stats on who was doing the best job could be statistically figured out. So every 6 months or whatever it was, I can't remember, they would come and give us the readouts. So everybody knew where they sat. I was always like number one. And occasionally I was number two. So let's just say, so it must have been every 3 months. So let's just say the first 3 months, Eric's number one. Second, Eric's number one. Third time, okay, Eric's number two. Fourth time, Eric's back to number one. So I felt a certain way and I felt a certain way. I told this story before. I felt a certain way that when management was coming in and we had new computer systems and things to do at Delta Dental, instead of them calling up my supervisor or my manager or somebody else, they come to me, Eric, will you train the freaking vice presidents and all these guys on the system? We're going to pay you a little bit more, which was kibbles and bits, but we're going to pay you a little bit more, and you can grab your own team that can come up there with you. So now I'm doing a full week upstairs with, I grab I think it was 2 or 3 other people who I felt was, excellent as well. We'd go upstairs. I'm training the guys who are getting paid 3 times as much as me. So now I go and apply for a job. I was trying to get back to Puerto Rico, quite frankly, because I was like, that's where my wife is. I wasn't married, but that's where my wife's on the island, man. I love the beautiful women of Puerto Rico. So I went for a job. And when I applied for this job, the job said something like, you need 2 years worth of college degree. You have to have a 4-year college degree. What did your friend do? Sorry, what did your friend do? He was modeling. He owned the modeling agencies. Oh, those names people might know. Those are modeling agencies. So I'll get to that in fact, this is going to be story night. I haven't done story night in a while. So I go for the job, and it said something like you have to have 2 years of working there and a 4-year degree. Okay, so I qualify, and I'm going to tell you I didn't really qualify, but I'm going to tell you what happened. So in the whole building, I have a 4-year degree. I qualify. There's only 3 other people apply. The problem is only one of those 3 had a degree. So that took the other ones off the table. So I'm sitting there like, and the other person, they don't even have nothing. They're not upstairs training the guys that make 2-3 times as much as I do. They're not training the management. They're not training executives. I am. You come get me. So I'm thinking, this is a shoe-in. I get a call into the HR office, and they said, Eric, we're not gonna give you that job in Puerto Rico. I was like, what'd you just say? Yeah, you actually you haven't worked here 2 years. I was like, I know the job placement is in 6 months. In 2 months, actually, it was 1.5 months. In 2 months, I'll have my 2 years. So what's the problem? Well, we're going to give it to some. I said, I'm number one, right? You come get me, right? So after that day, I felt a certain way. I was like, I felt slighted. I felt like, whoa, you're tripping right now. Of course, I'm in my 20s. And I'm thinking, I'm listening to what people are saying. You call up your parents, be like, damn, man, they effing me. This ain't right. They're like, oh, you're young. They gave it to somebody else that they felt deserved a little bit. All these excuses. I'm like, you did hear I'm number one, right? You did hear that whenever there's a bigwig coming to town that they need some training or some information, who do they get? They get me. I said, those 2 things right there, that outweighs everything. So I'm like, I don't really care. I'm not hearing what you're saying. I'm like, because I don't hear what you're saying, I already have another business that I already have. I have an office already set up. I don't even care about that. I said, I'm pissed, disrespected, I felt. So what happened and forward goes, one day I'm sitting at my desk, and because I have a new car, okay, it cost a lot. Let's just put it that way. It costs more than normal cars. But when I park, I would park all the way at the end where nobody else parks, because our parking lot's huge. It probably holds 500 cars, but only, I don't know, 50 or 60 cars is in the parking lot. So I always park way at the end so the car wouldn't get nicked, cut. Nobody would park next to me or whatever, right? So one day I'm sitting in there at my desk. It's on break. And the guys, I guess, wanted to play around or whatever. And they come up to me and they go, Eric, somebody hit your car. And I was like, really? I was like, my car is like way down there at the end. And they're like, yeah, you mean way down there at the end? Where there's some other car down there? Somebody hit your car, man. And I was like, damn, that's a shame. And then somebody piped up and said, you're not going to go out there? I was like, I got another 4 or 5 hours of work and I got insurance. And they were like, damn, that's how you're taking this? Your car's like brand new. It's cool. I was like, how else am I supposed to take this? The whole time they were actually messing with me, but I didn't know it. And so that's when they did that, I was like, oh, you guys jealous or something. That's when I was like, okay, all right, I see what's going on. First, they disrespect me with not giving me the job. Now I got guys out here trying to clown me or punk me or something. I said, all right, man. Because I just went back to my seat laughing like, dudes, I got insurance. It's going to get fixed. I ain't going out there acting tripping, wanting to beat up somebody or nothing. I said, if they drove off, big deal. If they left a note, big deal. If they didn't, it's getting fixed. Or if it's worse, I'm getting a brand new one. Either way, I'm covered. So that response by them going, oh, we're joking. We thought we wanted to see what you were going to do and all this. I was like, man, y'all just playing too much up in here. So that's when I got indignant when they hired. I went on the graveyard shift and walks in this girl named Paula, who I used to work with on the day shift. She was not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, not eight. She is the manager of the night shift. She's now my supervisor. She ain't even in the room when you need somebody that's going to train the upper management and stuff. She ain't even a choice. She comes in and starts acting like she knows me. We used to talk in the morning in the day shift. She comes in there acting like she don't know anybody. And I'm just like, why are you trying to act like there ain't even nobody here at night? Just our crew. And so she started messing with me in the one morning when I was talking in the morning in the day shift. She came up. I was talking to another person, and it was the divider. The dividers, I'm like over 6 feet tall. The divider comes up to about 5'10". So I'm talking over the divider, and there was a little cart that's like 4 inches off the ground. So I just step on the cart because I'm just like, so on the change of the shift, as she's walking by and getting ready to leave, she's about 20 to 30 feet away from me. She yelled, get what? What are you doing? I'll off the cart. It's like it's friend. I'm just talking with William seconds. That's it. No, get off the cart right now. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I go to her and I say, hey, why didn't you All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got terminated for a second, but I'll give you the end of the story. So you shouldn't have asked. You shouldn't have asked. All right, talking about dental question. Eric, do you have a medical plan that covers you when you travel? No, I don't. In our case, we'll be using the military TRICARE overseas because he was in the military. They have the best TRICARE. This is why you go in the military and retire, because you have TRICARE, and that's everywhere overseas when you go. I'm just checking other options. No, I don't, man. The only time is when you get there. Sometimes I have to get insurance, but I don't actually have anything that covers me worldwide. Just so you know, you have the best one. End of the story. So I come up to her and I say, hey, why didn't you just come over and talk to me and say, hey, Eric, what's this yelling across the room for? You're 20 feet away from me. Why don't you just come up and say, hey, Eric, or, I'm worried about your safety. Come off, get off the thing. Why are you acting like trying to strong arm? Like we're half friends. I mean, what are we doing here? So after that, I took it in overdrive. I'm in my 20s. I took it overdrive. When I came in late night, I put up a sign. I've told this story before. I put up a sign, a circle with a line through it and a piece of paper, and said no Paula or whatever. People were coming by laughing because, of course, she's my supervisor, manager, whatever. And so people are laughing. So I'm kind of clowning. So she didn't take too kindly to this clowning activity because people were in the room in the office space. The office space is like 200 feet by 200 feet. So everybody that was in there in the morning heard her yelling at me. So everybody's laughing. She comes up to me about halfway through the shift and says, Eric, okay, you had your fun. Take the sign down. I said, nah, this ain't good enough. Paul Castillo, welcome to the SSN Nation Wealthy Wednesday night live stream. Another investor is here, ladies and gentlemen. And I love that icon next to your name. And he brings his tagline this evening. Good evening, SSN Nation family. I hope everyone is doing well. Everybody's doing well, man. I haven't done story time in a while. We have a lot of people that don't know this story that I've been telling, but this gives you a warning as when you work at a job. Hold on. Brian P says, hey, Eric, I used to work for the company that your friends own. You're kidding me. That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, that'll be a whole nother story. In fact, we can keep doing story night. Are we early? We're early. We can do story night. All right. So now she tells me that halfway through the shift. We're a union, remember? But that comes in later. I'll do it short. This will be like 5 minutes or less. So now I just laugh her off. I'm like, nah. So now the shift, we're at the 7-hour mark. All of a sudden, the union rep comes up to me. He's also like a friend of mine. He's working on the shift. He comes up to me, hey, Eric, Paula said, you need to get that sign down like now. I mean, and otherwise you could get written up or whatever. I said, oh man, you serious right now? She's like, yeah, man, everybody done been laughing all night about it. But so I take the sign down. So needless to say, again, I'm in my 20s and I like getting my way, but now what I do is I go home in the daytime and now I go get the real sign with her circle. It's yellow with the red thing and a line through it, her name on it. I get the real sign. So that night, I bring the real sign in, put it on my desk, and the whole night crew is rolling. They're like, you got nerve. This is funny as hell. He went and got a real sign made. So now she comes and sees it. She's like, oh, she's like, oh my God. She's like, okay, this is, you made your point. This is too much. So then I just said, nah. I said, I'm not going to take it down tonight. And she's like, what? Now I'm embarrassing her beyond, because now the next morning it's up. The day shift comes in. They heard about it. Now the day shift comes in and they see it. Now they're rolling. So all our friends, she's friends of friends. Everybody's rolling. They're like, damn, what did Paula do to Eric? What's happening? And everybody's like, oh, it must have been when she was yelling across the room. And people were just rolling. So now I get home. I'm sleeping. I get a phone call. Eric, this is HR. We need you to come in. and talk to you about this sign that you had up at your desk. I'm like, really? Okay. So I come down there, talk to him, and they start, you know, you shouldn't have been on that cart. I'm like, are you serious right now? I said, that cart's sitting there every day. People step on it every day as they're talking to people across the little petitions. I said, but it's all right. So I had a little fun. And so they start, well, you might have to be suspended for a few weeks or whatever they were talking. I don't even know what they were talking. I just was in my head going, you're disrespecting me for my job. People over here messing with me about because I got a cool ass car. People are jealous. They know I'm number one. And you make her my boss knowing she ain't even in the top 5 on any damn metrics. And I feel disrespected. So I started reaching in my pockets, getting my key cards, my whatever I had in my pockets, keys, cards. And so the union rep is there, everybody's there, and they start going. As soon as they start seeing me ripping out my pockets and my keys and all that, the key cards, they're like, oh, hey, we don't mean we're not gonna fire you. We're not gonna fire you. We're just gonna we're just gonna suspend you. I was like, nah, I'm leaving. And then the HR lady's like, what do you mean you're leaving? I said, oh, sorry. Let me do the correct words. I quit. They're like, what? No, the union rep grabs me because he's a friend of mine. He's like, hey, man, don't quit. They ain't going to fire you. They ain't going to. I said, no, you didn't hear me. I quit. Bye-bye. Sayonara. And they were just like, no. So I said, oh, by the way, you can find me on Florin Road across from Go See Cal. That's my office. Anytime. That's where I'll be. Bye-bye. And they were like, oh, my God, this is unreal. No, Eric, you don't have to go. Yeah, I have to go. I have to go. I have to go. Bye-bye. So that's how I left Delta Dental, because of that. Now, regarding what Brian P.'s saying, John Robert Powers, Casablanca, modeling agencies, I just want to let everybody know I'm down at Carlsbad. This will be one of my last stories. We can get back into this. I'm down at Carlsbad with him, and we we're agency who's going to do an infomercial. They're looking for models from their agency to be in the infomercial. So I go into Mel's office, and Mel has like this portfolios, pictures of all kind of girls. And so he just says, hey, man, go look right here because we have this infomercial situation. Let me know what woman you would pick out of these group of women to be. And he said it's going to be at the marina in San Diego, or I think that's what he said, San Diego, I think it was. And he said that's where they're going to be shooting it. So we need some women that have a nice body and beautiful. So I start looking through these portfolios, pictures of these girls, and I'm just like, hey, man, I'm like, they all look good. I mean, most of them. I was like, that's the reason why they're pictures. I'm like, well, where are they in real life? He's like, oh, whoever you pick or whatever we pick, I'm not part of the company, but he was like, whoever you pick, if you pick them and I like them, then we bring them in, and then their management team's coming and they'll pick out of that. So I said, all right. So then I just picked a few, this girl. So now another day goes by or so. Then the infomercial guys come into the building. After they leave, Mel tells me, do you know that guy, Tom Vu? I'm like, of course I know Tom Vu. I came to America from Vietnam or whatever the hell he's talking about on the late night infomercials. That little Asian dude, man, that dude's full of F. He's like, yeah, the models for his infomercial, they come from me. I go, get out of here. He's like, yeah, man, all that stuff is BS. I'm gonna get him the little boat, the yacht, whatever. I'm gonna have the women for him. They're gonna look pretty and beautiful, and they're gonna be riding around in his what did he have? A Rolls Royce. I think that's what it was. And when they shoot the video, they use our models. That's when I was like, just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God. So we're being set up this whole time. I was like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, so the boat ain't even his, that he's going to be talking crap on. The girls aren't even like his friends, that he's going to be talking crap on like he's Mr. Rich. I was like, this is crazy. He's like, yeah, man, we shot the other one where we went to his house. And I don't even know if that's his house. I was like, are you serious right now? The one where he has to drop down and they're sitting on the back of the car and he has this cool ass house. He's like, yeah, we actually shot one of his infomercials there. I was like, he just blew my whole bubble up. I was like, are you serious right now? These infomercial dudes be doing this? He's like, yeah, man. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. Crazy stuff, man. Okay, so that's the stories. You got 2 of them tonight. Hey, Eric, I used to work for that company. Brian, Victor, what was your last W-2 job, Eric? You're very courageous. I don't even want to tell you. 1994. 1994. That was it. And that was with Crystal Water. But Crystal Water is a whole nother story. Whole nother story. I told you guys I've been in legal troubles before, because when I did that in the car situation, this is when I learned a lot of stuff in my 20s. I did the car where I was helping people, right? Lawyer, legal, helping them. What I didn't tell you was they went down, the car companies. Okay, this will be my last story. I told this before. The car companies paid the legislatures and the state house of California $20 million to change the laws so you couldn't do what I was doing in California. I told you guys, some of you know this story already. One day I'm in my office. These guys that look like bikers. Back in the day, bikers was not norm. Bikers come in with their sleeves half cut off, usually some big dude, and tattoos. And so this was so unusual. This one day, these 2 guys come in and it's weird. Let me put it to you why it's weird. Guys come in with the VW Bug, but the guy, like I just described, frayed half shirt, cut at the sleeves, kind of buff. He's in the car. I see him pull in because my office, I can see in the parking lot. And so I'm like, that's weird. Why is this big ass dude in this VW with this other dude? So I'm just like, sitting there like, just weird. So anyhow, they come into the building. Next thing I know, a few minutes later, they knocking on my door. When they knocked on my door, I'm like, hey, what's up? How can I help you? I'm thinking they're coming in to check out cars or try to do a deal. They sit down talking like, hey, yeah, what do you do? What are we doing? Like, I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of weird questioning, but still, nonetheless, we're good. Finally, the guy's like, look, we're actually here because Chrysler, they told us to tell you to stop doing what you're doing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Are you joking right now? He's like, no. I said, you're joking. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, no, we're serious. And so then he stands up. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's a threat. So he says, no, they're serious. And he says some threatening stuff. So I'm sitting there like, oh, he does. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So what do? We have the First Amendment situations. So I pull out the weapon going, hey, man, I don't know what you think this is. This is an office, true, but I'm not the one. They're like, oh, hold on. I said, tell Chrysler to go F themselves. And then they left. Well, that little interaction, when I said what Elon Musk just said about advertisers, go F yourself. Well, as we used to say up in New York, bet. It's like in Jersey, bet. Go F yourself. Okay, bet. Them dudes, I guess they told Chrysler to go F themselves. And Ford also came to my place. Don't do this. And I said, so what? You can't stop me. So they went down. The car companies got together, paid the state legislature $20 million. We can only muster $2 million. And they changed the law, so it stopped what I was doing. But with that, it's not good enough to stop me. So they said, okay, we'll try and put charges on them. So yeah, they tried to arrest me, which they did, had charges on me, which they do. And therefore now that puts me in other jeopardy. So speaking of those W-2 jobs, right, can't get W-2 jobs. So easily, I'll put it that way. So that's how it all starts going. And that's how the laws got changed in Nevada, New Mexico, California, missing something, 4 states, because I was actually making car dealerships. Right. I was a threat. So I'm going to tell you guys something. The car companies, which I didn't know at the time, the reason why they were bringing these guys to my office to tell me to stop doing it, they were counting on repossessions. You guys, there's a whole industry that they sell you the car, you make the payment, they have the paper. Remember, they had their Ford Motor Credit, Chrysler Credit. They have their own paper. They can sell the paper or keep the paper. But they have, when they repossess cars, what they used to do to people is, let's say you owe $10,000 still on the car. You gave them $10,000. They repossess your car. They go sell the car. Then they tell you, you still owe us. So they have a whole industry based on repossessions of cars. I didn't know at the time. I just effed with a $1 billion industry. $1 billion with a B. I was blocking their repossessions. And I had enough sway where I was down at San Francisco. What do you call that place? Richmond, San Francisco, New Mexico, Reno, Nevada. And I was actively putting in installments to have a dealership network. So now I was going to have access to other cars from other people. And so now it was going to blow up. So they were like, oh, hell no. We got to stop him before he does this. So that's how they did it. They involved the government. Like I said, I'm a rogue agent. So anyhow, my last job after that was working for Crystal Water. And I'll give the story. I've told this before. Crystal Water, they had a deal with Crystal Milk. Crystal Milk subsidized Crystal Water. Crystal Water becomes a company that deal with Alhambra water delivery service. So I was working with them as a customer service person. And I probably told you guys before, but I did get in trouble with the law because I still was flouting what they were doing because the law was ambiguous. So they said, oh, hell no, we're going to try and arrest him. And from that point on, I've been on the government's hit list, let's just say. All right. So I'm working for these guys. Now my background check is not good, but I'm working with Crystal Water. Crystal Water is like, he's just a customer service guy. Because even though I graduated from college, I said, I got to go do something. So I'm just going to do customer service. So I do customer service 3-4 months. The government comes in and tells them, hey, do you know who this guy is? And they're like, what do you mean? He's just a great customer service guy. And I only get paid like, I don't even remember, $9, $10, $15. I don't remember what I got paid. It didn't matter. I got paid enough to pay rent, so, and do what I do. I still make money. But the fact of the matter is, the government comes in and says, do you know who this guy is? So he doesn't, the HR doesn't know. Nobody in the building knows. As far as they're concerned, he just answers phones and he helps us with our, I do the call, dispatch in the afternoons for the guys when they come back from their, day out. Then I do dispatch, get some numbers, stuff like that. So they're just like, oh, he's pretty cool. He's a good worker. He's all right with us. They start going, this guy used to run this business over here, and they start telling them about the business. Do you know this guy has real estate and he invests in real estate? They're like, what? That customer service dude that always has a smile on his face? The guy that told us to come to concerts with him, and he would be having backstage and front stage passes, and that guy, he owns like millions of dollars worth of real estate. What's he doing here? Well, see, that's just it. we just wanted you to know. They were trying to block me from working even. This is crazy story, man. There's going to be a movie that comes out not one of these days, but in about 4 or 5 years, there's going to be a movie coming out. So the funny part is they tell these guys, and now I may not have said this before, but I had to go to the federal ranch for 3.5 months. Paul Castillo, Eric, DR has already hit 7 million of tourists so far through July, and it isn't even December yet. How many millions do you think we should expect by the end of the year? Okay, they're going to get 11 million tourists, but that's going to include about 2.3, I'm guessing, in cruise, and about 9.5. That's what I'm guessing. So that's going to reach my 8.5 to 9 million. That's what I think is going to happen. There's going to be 9 million by air, which is all that matters to us. We don't care about the 2.3 or 3 million by cruise, because cruise passengers are only there for a day. So yeah, I'm at 3.5 months. I'm at Lompoc campgrounds. All right. Wearing my sweats and everything. So these guys tell them, you know who this guy is, what he did. They're trying to get me fired. So I call up because I lied to them and told my bosses, I said, hey, I got a family emergency. I'm going to be gone for 4 months. And then while I'm down there, I'm like, man, that ain't right. Let me call these guys up. So I'm down there 10 days. And when you're in federal campground, as I call it, we have our own clothes. We have our own shoes. We don't have, we got calling cards. So it's not collect calls. So I call HR. I call Tony and I say, hey, Tony, I'm 10 days in. 10 days. Tony, hey, man, I lied to you. I got to tell you something. I was like, he goes, before I start saying anything, he goes, yeah, man. He tells me the story. The feds came to the office telling us what you did or what's going on. And then Tony says, we couldn't believe it. We just thought you were this cool customer service dude. We didn't know you had all this skill set. They're like, do you still have your stuff? I said, of course, because when I left, I have my Crystal Uni, my gear. He's like, yeah, when you get back, you're gonna be in our new collection department. You're gonna be on salary, and you're gonna be getting additional commission based on the collections. And we're going to give you a truck, and you can show up anytime you want. You come and go anytime you want. We'll see you. I'm like, what the hell? Hang up the phone. So I come back to Crystal Water, and and sure enough, these dudes have my gas card, have my truck key. I'm on salary. And I'm getting commission for every cooler, bottles that come back, additional commissions from that. And my own office. And it's for 2 people. The other person is this girl who I didn't even know before, but she's in there, Debbie. And so she has, now they had a large swath of Northern California. So it went from Beale Air Force Base down to Fresno. That's how big the space was. So me and Debbie split it up. So I'd be out in Fairfield. I'd be out in San Francisco. Well, not San Francisco, but Richmond, Oakland side, not San Francisco. Richmond, Oakland, Vallejo. I'd be out at Fresno. I'd be in Modesto during the course of my day, doing my work, come back. But I didn't have to do that every day, and Sacramento. So I could pick anywhere I want to go. And whatever time is my time. If I'm out for 8 hours, cool. If I'm out for 5, cool. There's nobody, no clock in, no clock out. Nobody's checking. So that's my job. So one day, Eric, you need to write a book on your life story. Hey, I'm working on it with some friends. Me and my friends, because of all this stuff, I have my friends like Mel, John Robert Powers, me and Mel and everybody. We used to do play hoops together. And then separately, we had our own businesses, and then we interacted with each other on our businesses. So that's why the movie or the series, whatever comes of this, is going to be off the charts. I'm telling you what my story is. You don't know my friends. My friends' stories are all different, but it's, you guys seen White Men Can't Jump? There's a guy named Lavon Williams in California he's only like 3 or 4 years younger than me. He played at this little like 2A school that had like 500 or 600 students in high school. I met this guy when I played in college, but I played in the summer in a place in West Sacramento. I ran into him when he was a junior. So he has Tarkanian, UNLV Running Rebels coach, famed, coming to his house to see him. He's the leading scorer in California. He's like 6'3", 6'4", when he's only 17, 16. So I see him in the summertime, and I tell him, I say, hey, man, how's your school doing? I hear you're a superstar, and you can play. Please make sure you get your school right so you at least have that 2.5, 2.0 at least minimum. And then I was talking to his friends that went to high school with him. I said, guys, you got to make sure you're on him about his school. I told him that. So that was his junior year, before his junior year. His senior year in summer, I come back, play with him while I'm still in college. Then I say, hey, man, you guys making sure you're covered? They're like, no, man, he's chasing girls. He don't care about school. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, he's got the UCLA coach coming to see him, the UNLV coach coming to see him, Oregon. I'm just like, he's on the McDonald's All-American League. I was like, are you serious right now? I sat him down. Look, man, you got an opportunity to go pro. That's how good you are. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, man, you need to get your school. He didn't get his school done. So he hangs out with another friend of mine, and he's a white guy. Nomo's a black guy. The white guy named Jim, he keeps calling me wanting to do the book. He wants me to do the series with him. But Jim and Nomo go down to LA. They go down to Venice Beach. They're down there at Venice Beach. You know what they're doing? They're playing for money at Venice Beach. You know what else they're doing? Jimmy, the white dude's going to the dating game. These guys are down in LA getting on the game shows, trying to get on game shows, playing hoops. And you know what happens? The movie comes out 3-4 years later, White Men Can't Jump. The same stupid stretching that Woody Harrelson does, that's what Jim does. So I'm calling up Jim when the White Men Can't Jump thing come out, and I'm like, hey, man, do you do a movie rights thing or something? Because these dudes are doing the same thing you guys were doing down at Venice Beach. You guys down there hustling people who used to do that stupid Woody, what he's doing. And Nomo, and it's a white dude just like Wesley Snipes and Nomo and you. He's like, yeah, man, I think they stole that storyline from when we were down there. I said, because it's exactly the same. So that's why he wants to do this series. So just letting you know, he's been bugging me, and Nomo, he called Nomo too. And Melly Mel, unfortunately, is ill. He has cancer, apparently. So we're considering a trip to San Francisco in September, then drive to Yosemite Park and then Lake Tahoe. Thinking about it before we leave. Last time we were in SF, we were on our way to Fort Shafter, Hawaii. Wow, that's crazy. Well, if you do go to San Francisco in September, let me know. I'll be in Cali, man. Let me know. And especially, if you drive to Lake Tahoe, you have to drive past Sacramento. So, and especially if you go to Lake Tahoe, I might be hanging out in Rancho Cordova, which is where Mather used to be. So that's probably, I'll be staying with, I don't know if I'll be staying with my friend Tony or not, T. Jones, but that means I'll be staying right off the freeway if I stay at T. Jones' house, because I'm only going to be there like a week or so, but maybe even longer. But if you are, let me know. We can finally meet in person, Marrero. And if you're going up to Lake Tahoe, well, hey, man, that might be a nice trip. Let me know where you're going to be staying at in Lake Tahoe, whether you're going to do Airbnb house, you're going to stay at, I don't know, September. Oh, yeah, that's low season. So the price is right for staying in Lake Tahoe during that time of year. But, that'll be very, very interesting. All right, Eric, if they make a movie about your life, what the title will be? Hey, man, I don't think a movie's going to do it. I keep telling the guys, I think if anything happens, they have to do a series. There's no way you can look. There's some things that you just can't. There's stuff that you just can't make up. Like I said, because if you incorporate this sphere, all of a sudden you have Jimmy and Nomo in the mix. Now you have Nomo being like All-American, leading scorer of California for basketball from a small school. You have his story and Jimmy's story, and now you got this white men can't jump situation going down to LA. Then you got that little leaf of it. Then Jimmy, okay, look, I got so many stories I can tell you and keep going for a lifetime. So Eddie Murphy's, I told you guys before, Eddie Murphy's wife is from Sacramento, Nicole Mitchell. Well, I still call her Nicole Mitchell, but she's known by Nicole Murphy. To this day, I still say her name is Nicole Mitchell. That's what I call her by. Sacktown's most finest. But at the time, when we're younger, this girl is like maybe 5'10", 5. Well, she always had heels on when I saw her. So maybe she's 5'10", 5'8", 5. I don't know, 5'8", 5'7". But here's the thing. She was that size, but weighed like 105 pounds. So for me, not my type of girl. For my friends, she's the girl. For Akeem Olajuwon, writing in his book, the finest girl on the planet, that's for them. She's like that tall and skinny, fine as hell. So we're out at Black Angus in South Sacramento, and she comes in with her normal modeling, because she's a model, normal modeling crew. But remember, she's like 19, maybe 20, maybe 21. I don't know. But all I know is I'm way older, 26, 7 years older. All right. Way older. But to me, she's like a little girl because she's, thin. Back then, you had to be, like 5'8", 5'9", and 105 pounds or some crazy nonsense like that. So for me, that was a no-go zone. I needed a woman type. So I need a woman that's basically a size 5 and up. I don't like size 4 and under. Let's put it that way. All right. So she wasn't my type, but we're at Black Angus. She never will dance. I never even asked her to dance. I just talked to her. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Glad to see you. Hey, and go on about my business, because I would never try to hit on her because she ain't my type. So we're sitting in there, and Jimmy comes with me to the club. The white dude, Jimmy. Nicole is mixed, by the way, in case people don't realize it. So, and it's a black club, if that matters. But this is trippy, right? Black club, white guy. Nicole Mitchell comes in with her entourage. I go up to her. Jimmy's like, man, I wish I could dance with her. Now, Jimmy's a couple years older than me, and he's a little player. So I was like, hey, man, what's the problem? You just go ask her. He's like, nah, man, she's fine as hell. Even he felt a certain way how fine she was. All the kings she was hitting on her all the time. It was just a madhouse, but she would never go out with nobody. That's the funny part. She's nice. She's hella nice. She's not stuck up. She's nice. So I go and talk to her. I say, hey, Nicole, you won't believe this. My friend, he's crazy. He wants to dance with you. And I know you only dance a few times during the night. And so I said, yeah, see that white dude over there? She's like, yeah. I said, yeah, he wants to dance with you. She's like, just tell him to come up here and ask me. I was like, I tried to tell him, but he was shy. But I guess I'll just tell him to come up. He goes up and dances with her. And she only dances one time, usually one song. Next thing I know, it's a second song. Next thing I know, it's a third song. After the third song, the DJ plays a slow jam. So I know she ain't slow jamming with them. Now she's slow jamming with them too. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. He's looking at me with this big ass smile on his face. I'm like, stop the playing around, man. Stop. I'm like, just get off the floor. You ain't, just get off the floor. So from that point on, this dude to this day is still going crazy. He didn't even go out with her or nothing. He's still, oh my God, man, I can't believe you did that for me. I'm like, dude. I'm like, yeah, I'm like in shock now. I feel a certain way. I'm like, she danced 2 slow jams with them, 3 songs, 5 songs in a row. She's never done that with anybody. I was like, man. And he's like, she never does that with anybody. Man, dude, ask her for the phone number. If you think she's all that, get her phone number. Clearly, she feels a certain way. She ain't never done that. So I don't know whatever happened after that. But the fact of the matter is that was funny as hell. And then there's tie-ins because I was messing around with Nicole's cousin, but I didn't know it was Nicole's cousin, which is funny as hell. All I know is it was another fine-ass woman. But there's all kind of stories. So we have these lift-offs. And I'll leave you another story that I told you guys before. All these stories I'm putting down a little bit. Eric, if they make a movie about your life, what will the title be? I have no idea, man. Like I said, cool. I may actually need some recommendation for lodging around San Francisco and Yosemite. Well, I haven't been downtown San Francisco, but Donatello. Okay, if you want to stay in the city, Donatello is the spot that I always stay because it's 2 blocks from Union Square. I don't know what Union Square looks like. I haven't been there in 5 years. Union Square has the stores or had the stores. If you want to stay by Fisherman's Wharf, do Suites at Fisherman's Wharf. That's pretty reasonable. It's a couple of blocks from the wharf area. It's on the line with the cable cars. So the cable cars at the end of the road, probably 100, no, not 100 yards down, 50 yards down is the turnaround for the cable car. So you have a spot where you can always get transportation and leave without a car. And you're by the wharf. All right. Fisherman's Wharf area. Walking distance, shops, restaurants, cool area. The chocolate factory is there too. Not Nestle. Oh man, I can't remember the name of that. San Francisco. Ghirardelli. Ghirardelli Chocolates is there. All right. So yeah. The story would take it would be incredible. Even including 1993, I told this story a little bit before. The Desert Storm, NBC, Los Lobos, Whitney Houston. That show was in Oceanside or Camp Pendleton. I don't know. Melly Mel took me there. Anyhow, that show, if there's ever any footage anywhere, I don't know, NBC, I don't understand. It's never been released or it's not around. It's not even on streaming services. I can't believe it. But you will see me on stage at the end, at the finale. I'm on stage watching the TV on the left-hand side. You'll see me doing this, waving, faking like I'm singing the song because I didn't care for the song and never knew the song. So I'm just lip syncing. I don't even know what the damn song is, but I'm lip syncing. I'm in the back at the NBC truck and the satellite truck. And that's when the producers are in the truck and they realize, they're like, hey, when we pan to the stage, we don't have enough people on stage. And they're like, hey, Eric, come on, man, get on stage right now. Grab your friend or whatever, get on stage. We don't have enough people on stage. So while they're panning around, we're running up on stage at the end to do the finale, doing this. That's why I'm on stage. And I got more stories for you too, because Mrs. America was there and she told my friend Mel, I want your friend Eric, because I met her in the green room and I seen her a couple of times. She's fine as hell. And she had her other friend, Mrs. I don't know, from Euro, Mrs., not Miss. I want Eric to drive us back to the hotel. And he comes up to me and says, hey, man, Mrs. America wants you to drive her back to her hotel. And I'm just like, yeah, but she got the clown bodyguards. She's like, exactly. She's already left the bodyguard. She's waiting over here for you to pick her and Mrs. whatever up. I can't remember the other girl up and take them to the hotel. So I'm like, really? Okay, let's go. I go grab them and we get in the car. I'm driving off. I see the freaking the bodyguards running. They're in the green room. We're on the pullout. And I look back. The girls are like, leave them. Boom. So we go to the hotel. So that is another story. It's crazy. I'm telling you right now. Crazy stuff. Eric, do they still have daily tours to Alcatraz? Yes. Well, actually, hold on. Again, I haven't been to San Francisco in 5 years. If it's still San Francisco, then yes, they would have tours in September to Alcatraz. You're going to have to look online because I'm pretty sure they do, because Fisherman's Wharf is a tourist area. Regardless of the mayhem going on down there, I'm pretty sure they're going to have that because all the boats aren't going to sit idle. Just like they probably still have boats over to Sausalito, places like that as well. So, but again, that should be standard. They should have it. They got to have that tour. So, yeah, so we have enough to fill more than a movie. All right. And I told Jimmy, I said, are we supposed, if I said we have to do a series just on the fact that what me and him did, but if you add in other people, now you have storylines that can go all over, which all tie in at one point or another. And then, of course, I told him now I get to throw in that Tom View infomercial stuff and all that stuff. I mean, it ties into a bunch of stuff where people will be like, are you kidding me right now? And so we haven't even gotten out. And then I said, if we do it, because he played in college too, basketball at a different place. Like, I don't know where, Illinois or something. So I said, are we going to start when we're in our early 20s or 19, 20, 21 when we were in college? Because that'd be a whole nother thing. Because everybody knows if you start on a team, especially basketball at a college, then you're normally going to be big man on campus. So there's a story for me because mine is totally different. Once again, everybody thought I was just a basketball player. They were always my teachers talking crap. Oh, the star, you're late in class. Well, yeah. I was only late because I was picking up checks. I had my own company, LLC already, when I'm 19 years old. And I'm selling stuff while I'm playing basketball. I told this story before. While I'm playing basketball for Sonoma State University, I have checks coming from the snack bar because I'm selling stuff in the snack bar. I am the original guy, not original, but I am that guy. I went to the athletic director. He had to get NCAA approval for me to be able to sell products at the snack bar, which was nothing more than like T-shirts, hats, and stuff like that for the sign of the times, And so after every game, my teammates, they rolling into the locker room. I'm rolling to the snack bar. They think I'm over there getting some snack stuff. No, I'm picking up a check for stuff that was sold at the snack bar that night. They never knew because I have cash. Because, of course, we had warm-up, stuff like that. I come back to my locker. I'd never tell nobody. My coach had to get approval, too. He knew about it. But I told him, he's just like, I can't believe there is no other student athlete I done had over 25, 30 years that ever done this. I said, I know, I'm different. I said, I'm trying to take over. I don't know what's going on, man. I came from University of Florida. I was like, you get paid when you play. I was like, I don't know what's going on around here. I was from Division I to Division II, which is another story altogether. But so now I'm playing in Division II, and I'm just like, where's the cash flow? So I created the cash flow. So I had my own company. I sold products on TV in Santa Rosa, and I was selling stuff inside when I played basketball inside the snack bar. So I'm getting paid all around while I'm playing basketball. I'm a business guy, and my business teachers are giving me grief because I showed up 5 minutes late. They thought I was disrespecting them because I was a basketball star. And I was like, and I wouldn't even say anything. I would just say, no, that's not it. I said, it's not that. I had business to do. And of course, they would be like, business? You're 19, 20 years old. You ain't doing business. What are you talking about? We don't have no students up in here doing business. And I'd be like, hey, man, I'm doing business. So that's why I'm late. I'm not trying to be star guy, nothing. I'm just trying to be student. I just got back. They told me I got to pick up my check at 9. They didn't have it ready till like 9:30, 9:40. So that means I got here at 10:05. That's it. So I'd explain. They wouldn't believe me. But mind you, I'm a student, like a geek, kind of. I have a briefcase. I'm walking to my business class with briefcase, dress shoes, slacks, looking good. And that's how I come to my class. And they're just like, nah, you're just a basketball star, man, disrespecting us coming in late. And so then in class, I'm arguing with them because they're telling me, I told you guys before, when they're telling me about IBM used to do that. IBM does this. That's what's in our books. IBM does that. The Hewlett Packard does that. So then one day I'm just like, hey, man, all that stuff ain't even. Nobody in here is going to be doing this. Nobody in this class is going to be an executive level, straight out the box, having a crew underneath them, and you're going to be getting paid like $250,000, $300,000 a year. Come on now, stop this. I said, all these dudes, we're all going to have degrees in here. You're going to go to Hewlett Packard. Sure, you're going to make maybe 70, 80, 100. But you ain't going to be in this development where you're going to be, oh, yeah, you got your 3 executives here. You're going to have people under them. Then I was like, dang, get out of here with this. And so we would have arguments, me and the teachers. And so my classmates are like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. I'd be like, man, this ain't going to stop it. Stop it. This is not how you run business. This is how you run corporations, but this is not how you run businesses. This isn't going to work. Got too many employees. I was explaining all this stuff, and they'd be like, nah, what does the basketball star know? And I'd be like, okay, that old adage, don't let me start. Some teach, some do. Don't let me start. So we had this ongoing thing that we had between us where they thought I was disrespecting them in class, didn't know what I was talking about, trying to pipe up and do all this. They didn't know that what I told them was when I used to go say I used to go pick up a check and this, that's all I would say. They didn't realize I was telling the truth. They just thought I was making it up, acting big like I knew about business. So that's why when I graduate, things go up in smoke. They're just like, oh my God, because the newspaper on campus, because I told you guys about the San Francisco, I told you about the clothing. Well, I knew about clothing ever since I was 18 because I used to buy products to be on the TV show in Santa Rosa from Korea, from Hong Kong, from all over Asia. So I could pick up the phone and call a CEO of a company in the Asian market. They would call me late night because it's early morning over there, late night over in my place. My roommates would answer the phone and say, this guy said he's the CEO of Shenzhou or whatever. And they would think he's joking. They're like, okay, man, Eric ain't never told us about no business. He's just a basketball dude. No, it was the actual CEOs. So they would call me, Eric, what's your order? What do you want? We heard you want to do an order now. I said, yeah, I need, a couple dozen of this, a couple dozen of that. It'd be here like 3 days. Back when, and that's what drove me crazy, is here we are 30 years later, and now here 40 years later, whatever. And these guys are sitting there like, oh, we can't get stuff to you in 3 or 4 days. I'm like, what are you talking about? I can get stuff 3 or 4 days to me in the 80s from the Asian market. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So anyhow, that's another story all in itself. So I can keep going with stories. But the fact of the matter is, when we had our graduation, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. We might have some new people here. So I'll give you even more of a story. One of the guys with me named Beltrami. All right. Beltrami and me hang tight. We play basketball. The dude plays like, out of 20 some games, he probably plays, I can't even tell you, 100 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 3 minutes a game. Our coach was so bad. This dude goes over, he sits on the bench behind me, doesn't even get in games. This guy goes to Palermo and plays professional basketball. The whole time he's on our team, 2 years we're together. I'm telling the coach, like, man, give the guy should be on the floor. What are you doing? 1 year, my coach didn't even like me because I played there 3 years. My first year, I didn't even get on the floor hardly either. But now he's a junior and a senior playing. He doesn't hardly play his junior year. He doesn't hardly play his senior year. And yet he can play professional basketball in Palermo, Italy. So he's playing in Palermo. So he comes to me about 2 months before graduation. On all out of the seniors on the team, there's probably, let me see, there's let's just say 6 guys. There probably was 6. Half of us were seniors on the team. So only me and Roy are graduating on our scheduled time. So Roy Beltrami and myself, and I tell Roy, I say, Roy, I said, man, can you believe it? Out of all the seniors, only me and you are graduating on time. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So he comes to me and says, hey, Eric, 2 months before graduation, Eric, I can't graduate with you, man. I go, what are you talking about? You can't graduate with me. He's like, I'm three credits short. I was like, no way. He's like, yes way. I was like, you're over. You went to the junior college. So then therefore you had the 2 years. So how are you under? He's like, well, apparently when I took an elective or whatever, didn't count. And something didn't translate. I can't remember the story, but I'm like, oh my God. I was like, nah, man, this ain't happening. So I go down and go see Bill Reynolds. He's the dean of business and a friend of the program, let's say. So I go see Bill Reynolds and I go, hey, Mr. Reynolds, I can't believe this, man. My boy Roy over here, he tells me he's 3 credits short. Apparently, he already knew it. He was 3 credits short. I said, you know, we can't have this. He's like, what do you mean? I said, what do you mean? You got to figure out how you can get 3 credits. Otherwise, I'm going to be the only one graduating. He's like, okay. So you know what he does? He says, hey, where did you work at? Or have you worked since you've been here this year? Is there anything you do? He goes, yeah, I actually do a little something somewhere, whatever. Bill Reynolds goes, I got you. He didn't say that back then. Bill Reynolds is the dean. He says, okay, don't worry about it. I have it under control. I'm going to actually put you down as work something. And that's how you can get your 3 credits. But I just need your bosses to show me your work stubs or whatever. I can't remember whatever paperwork he said. And I'll get you the 3 credits. So now I'm like, all right, my boy, we're graduating together. So that's how Roy Beltrami is able to graduate, because he actually confided and said, hey, man, I ain't graduating because of. Most people would just be, resigned to. But me and him are boys, so he knows what I'm doing. I'll tell you what I'm doing after I tell you the rest of the story. So now after he hooks up Roy, I got to remind you, I went to University of Florida. I also did three semesters straight of school because I messed up with my grades at University of Florida. I was playing around, got to admit. So I had to go through 3 semesters, 20 credits a semester of a 4.0 to get my credits right. So I had more than enough credits. So now, after Roy gets straightened out, a month, 3 weeks before, Bill Reynolds comes to practice, or calls my coach and says, hey, get in touch with Eric. I need to talk to him. So coach, I go by and see my coach, and he's like, hey, Bill Reynolds, you got to go see him. I go see Bill Reynolds. Bill Reynolds goes, Eric, you're 3 credits short. 3 or 4 credits short. I go, how's that? That's not possible. I said, first of all, if I stay here another semester, I could graduate with a minor in computer sciences. I was like, so how am I short? He goes, there's something that transferred from the University of Florida means something different here. So they're not counting it or something. And you never knew it. I said, yeah, because I had all these extra credits. He's like, yeah, well, the only thing I can do is what I did with Roy. But I don't think you work or anything. I said, oh, contraire. I said, actually, I got something better. You can call the TV station in Santa Rosa. We've been doing business for my whole senior year. He's like, what? Are you serious right now? I said, yeah, you can call them. He's like, oh, okay, man. Well, yeah, I got you covered. You got your 4 credits, 3 credits. You got more than enough credits now because that's going to qualify under some work stuff. And you did even more than work. So now me and Roy are officially graduating, officially. So now I tell Roy, you guys will get a kick out of this. All the guys are going to kick out of this. When you graduate, they have it under usually your name. So my name's Bird, B-Y. Beltrami's B-A-L-T. And so we're sitting in the same area. So me, I flex my basketball star pull, and I go see the guys who are setting up the seating. So me and Roy have a little powwow, and we go, hey, man, who's the finest seniors in our class? And so we come to consensus because I'm like, I know who I'm going to have sitting next to me. And he's like, I know who I want sitting next to me. I said, well, then let's make it happen. So I go up and see the guys, and I say, hey, they're like, Eric, we put everybody according to whatever. I said, no, not this time. And they're like, okay, what do you mean? So I go and say, okay, I need this girl sitting next to me on my left, and I need that girl sitting next to Roy on his right. And they're like, wait, these girls are in the S section. I was like, so what's the problem? Put us in the S section then and put them next to us. They're like, all right, we'll figure out something to do. So they say, okay, so me and Roy have the 2 girls in the middle of us. And so now we go see the girls, and we say, I did all the talking because I'm the guy with the money. So I come up to the girls and see them because they're friends, in fact. And I say, hey, me and Roy want you guys with us because you're 2 of the finest girls in school, and we like you because you guys are cool. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, we're going to come pick you up. I'm going to have a limo. And from that point on, we're going to have champagne, limo, and we're bringing it with us when we sit down in our seats. They're like, no way. I'm like, yes way. So now that's what happens. For our graduation, come in the limo, the finest 2 girls in our class. We have our champagne glasses, our bucket of champagne on ice, and we're sitting there. And while the president is doing his speech, we're doing pop. People are looking around like, what the hell is that? Really? Yeah. And we're like, our motto at the time, on the Wall Street. That's what we were saying, on the Wall Street. And so while we're doing it, we're drinking. We're drinking champagne. Everybody's tripping. They're having fun. And while we're doing that, Roy looks up and he looks at me and he says, because he finally looks through the book, the what do you call those? I can't remember what you call it. But anyhow, they tell you who's graduating, who's in the graduating class. It's the menu for everybody, how everything's going to go for the day. President's up, then whoever else. The dean of business class is up, and people talk. We don't care. We're popping bottles. So all of a sudden, Roy starts looking through it, and he says, "Hey, man, you have an asterisk next to your name." And I was like, "What do you mean I have an asterisk next to my name?" I'm like, "Does that mean I'm not going to graduate or something?" He goes, "Yeah, man, there's like, I think it's like 10 or 12 people in here that have asterisks next to their name." I was like, "Man, I guess Bill Reynolds must have not been able to do what what he said he could do. Maybe that just means I'm somewhat in a stage, I guess. Maybe graduate and I'll have to come back a semester. I don't know." So anyhow, I'm just blowing it off. But my mom is there, and they're starting to get to this section of the program where something's coming up. And I look at my mom and I see tears coming down. And I'm just like, I just brush it off kind of. I'm like, why? I said, "Roy, look, my mom's crying, man. What the hell's going on? I hope she's all right." But she looked like she was all right. It didn't look like she was in distress. It just looks like she was just looking, but tears were coming down her face. Next thing I know, the president gets up and he starts saying, "These students that have an asterisk next to their name, they graduated with distinction." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me?" And it chokes me up right now because my mom passed away. But that's the reason why she already knew what was coming, because she knew that I graduated with distinction and nobody told me. I didn't even look at the program. And that's when he looks up and says, "I'll be damned. Who are you?" And I was like, "I don't believe it. I didn't know nothing about this. Are you serious right now?" And so on my diploma, it does say graduated with distinction on there. I think there was only 12 people. And so to this day, it's in the archive somewhere around here. But unfortunately, I have family matters, and my sister took every piece of paper, my diploma, my brother's diploma, any paperwork, any articles, anything, our trophies, anything she took. She stole. And for whatever reason, I don't know. Pictures, my dad's pictures that he needed for the military because they didn't believe he was in Vietnam, or made up a story. "No, you weren't never in Vietnam. Show us your paperwork." She even has that. So he couldn't get the Vietnam disability, because apparently, I don't know the things, but they give you a certain level of disability, and he couldn't prove he was in Vietnam, and my sister wouldn't give it to him. So he only had like a 20-30% disability level or something. But it finally got worked out because his wife kept pushing and said, "How could he have all these pictures if he does?" And they, because that was like a long time ago. So kind of crazy. But anyhow, guys, that's part of the storyline. If we start going back to college, then it's a whole nother ball game, because I did go to the University of Florida, and people see him on NBC for the football games. Chris Collinsworth, he was there. A bunch of other people were there that I can't remember their names now, but they played in the NFL. They were there. Basketball wise, sorry, nobody went pros or even nothing. But football wise, that's where I learned the whole game on college, game on football, SEC. So in the 40 years ago, these guys, I seen, this is where I knew something. I'm a business guy. So remember, I'm a freshman at U of F, and I'm sitting at the bookstore, and I see Chris Collinsworth. First of all, let's put it a couple of ways. First of all, I'm pulling up, and there's this black with like a paint spatter, like somebody spattered this black vet on paint on the car. So first of all, that black vet with splattered paint on it was the paint job, which was unusual. And it pulls up at University of Florida. When you pull up, there's a street in front of at the time, there was a street in front of the book, the bookstore. So the parking was not in front of the bookstore, But Chris Collinsworth pulls up, parks his ride on the left-hand side of the street, gets out, walks straight into the bookstore, and that's where I'm at. I'm in the bookstore. So I see the black car pull up. I'm pulling into or walking into the bookstore, and I'm like, that's a badass car. And I'm like, and then the doors open, and it's this little, not little, this skinny dude gets out the car, and as he's getting closer, he's freaking like 6'2", 6'3", 6'1", tall as me. And I'm just like, that's freaking Chris Collinsworth. And of course, we're not friends or nothing, even to this day. It's like, you know, like, hey, what's up? But not like, we never hung out, nothing like that. But even though he's at the U of F, it wasn't like football and basketball back in the day weren't like buddies. But point is, that's the only time I saw him, quite frankly. But he's having this vet. And so that's when I find out from other football players, I'm like, how did this happen? Dude's got a vet, brand new paint job. And that's when I find out, oh, hey, man, we go get our cars from the dealership and they let us drive them around. We don't own them or nothing, but they like somebody, the boosters or whatever, they let you lease cars or they do. I don't even know the story. All I know is I'm fucking 18 years old and I'm listening to this crap and I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? Wait a minute. What happened to you get a scholarship? That's good enough. You don't get nothing else. And then that's when it was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. Yeah, you get a scholarship. You don't get nothing else. It's just for home TV. But when you get to the school, you got all kind of perks, especially if you're good. So that's when I first start realizing, I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. So now after the football game, we could always go through the tunnel and come out the other side after games. We could always be on the field. So after one of the games, I don't even go to the games really, right? That at first. So finally, I decided to start going to check out the game on Saturday whenever it's at the Swamp. So now I get down there and I say, okay, let me go check out the games, man, since I can be on the field anyhow. Let me go. Okay, so I get down there after the game. Now I'm with some of the football guys because they're after the game, you know, they take off their helmets, walking off and hanging out. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Good game. Because, you know, we used to do a lot of beatdown back in the day. And this is when I learn even more. Next thing that I see some guys that are coming up to the football players and they're just shaking their hand like, man, good game, man. And so then after they did it, next thing I know, these guys take a few steps. Then they open up their hand. I see hundreds of dollar bills in their hand. I'm like, oh, I'm a business guy. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? I was like, oh, this is heaven. So we do get paid. That's what I'm thinking, right? Now I find out that this stuff that they were doing, like at SMU, at SEC schools and all this, even though you get a scholarship and all that, if you're pretty good, you will get money from the boosters, from anybody, friends of the program, whatever. There's money flowing. All right. So that's when I learned that college sports wasn't completely what it was supposed to be back in the day. That's when I learned. This is in the 80s, remind you. Okay. So you can only imagine what they were doing the whole time. So all these schools that had all these players and people go, oh, they just got a scholarship. I was like, F that. I ain't believing that no more. So from that, now I'm going to give you my age. 79, 80. That's it. I went 1 year. I partied so much, my GPA was 1.3. So then the guys go, Eric, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll come back one more semester. And back then we were on quarters. So I said, I'll come back after summer. I'll come back. But guys, I got to go. I said, I'm on academic probation. I can't play hoops. So it's cool and all around here, but this school is so big. I'm having too much fun. I'm hanging out with women, beautiful women on the planet. I'm down in dorm rooms. I'm doing stupid stuff, anything but studying, just having fun. So I said, I got to go to a small school now, guys. I got to go to a small school where I'm going to study so I can graduate, get my business degree, call it a day. 79 and 80, man. So, so that's why I still had full. In fact, I could suit up right now and still have eligibility to play in college. That's what's cool because of my GPA. I busted off a year. So that's why I call when I say at Sonoma State, I was a sophomore, is because I didn't even play. I didn't qualify enough. I didn't play 2 games or nothing. So I was like, toast. So yeah, 79, 80. That's when I was there. And so and there's so many stories. I can't even remember the guys' names now, but one of our linebackers was in the NFL, played for Washington. I wish I can remember his name. But anyhow, you won't believe this. I'm in West Sacramento in like 1984, 85 even maybe. And I lived in an apartment. That's where I'd be in the summertime. When I stayed from Sonoma State, I'd go to Sacramento. And everybody's like, what do you mean you live in Sac? I said, I have an apartment in Sac. This is crazy, right? For a 20-year-old. And so these guys, I'm going to wash my clothes at this laundromat on Jefferson Boulevard in West Sacramento. I pull in, and this guy's a trucker, and he's washing his clothes in there, and he starts talking like, yeah, I'm from, I think he might have even said I'm from Florida. I don't remember. So we just start talking. He's like, yeah, I'm from Florida. And I was like, really? And so we start talking about Florida because I know a little bit about Florida. And I was like, so we start talking probably about 15, 20 minutes. And then finally he goes, yeah, he told me his name. And I remember saying in my head, I was like, that's that dude that they used to play football at Florida, but I don't say nothing. I'm not thinking they're related. So then after we're talking about 15, 20 minutes, he says, oh yeah. Because I said, yeah, I went to University of Florida. He's like, my son went to University of Florida. Then I said, no, not the football dude. You guys have the same last name. He goes, that's my son. I was like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, yeah. I was like, he plays for the Washington Redskins. He's like, yeah, that's him. I said, oh, man, me and him used to hang out at the U of F. He's like, I'll tell him. I said, just tell him Eric Bird said, what's up? And he's like, yeah, I'll tell him. But this is a small-ass world. Small-ass world. So, man, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. I got tons of stories, Mr. Paul Castillo and everybody. I got a lifetime. That's why I told people I will never trade my life for nothing. Zero. You can't pay me to come up with a different life because this is one for the ages. And I was lucky enough for my parents to be in military. So in military, I got to travel all over the world, which is another thing in itself. And you get to meet people from all race, creed, color, different ways people grow up, different foods people fix, different traditions that other people do. So now when you come back to America and you meet immigrants that are from other countries, it's like no big deal. You are familiar that other people do things differently. Some people are cooking in the garage and you're like, why are people cooking in the garage and they don't cook in the kitchen? They don't understand. Why does this guy do this? Why do they leave food on the counter all spread out? If you're from Asia and they're going to have everybody come over, it's all kind of stuff that happens. When you get to move around the world, you learn a lot of different things, and it's very, very different, your perception of the world. And when you meet people, everybody's an immigrant in the USA. So when you meet other immigrants, so when you live in Puerto Rico, Victor Morrell knows this. You live in Puerto Rico Victor Morrell grew up in Puerto Rico too. And when you're there and I'm look just this color, but in Puerto Rico, it's America. What I mean is you could be white and black and each color in between. When we're down partying, there's a barbecue, people are eating from down the block. You don't even know them, but they're in the neighborhood. You've seen them. We're all Puerto Rican at that point. If you said, yeah, you're an American. Everybody in the room's like, what the? We're Puerto Rican. I don't know what the hell. What's wrong with you? That's what it was like. They're not American. They're Puerto Rican. And so that was something that was weird to me when I first moved here. They didn't consider themselves part of the USA, even though they're U.S. territory. It was more like we're Puerto Rican. We're not that. And so that's when I learned a whole nother thing. The way people are around the world isn't how America portrays it to be. Because I was thinking it's a U.S. territory and that there were U.S. citizens, and then they're speaking Spanish. Not a lick of English in a lot of cases, but a lot of people did speak both. But the fact of the matter is, if I left the base and went to San Juan, you better know some Spanish. That or anywhere, Mayagüez, Bayamon, it don't matter. You better know some Spanish once you leave the base and you go out about 10, 15 miles. You better know. So that's when I actually could speak Spanish back in the day, because I was there enough. We lived there like years. Read Spanish, speak Spanish, and everybody's Puerto Rican. I was even considering myself like Puerto Rican because it was all colors in between. There was none of this racism stuff that I had in America. As soon as I leave Puerto Rico, we go down, come back to America. I'm called the N-word within 24 hours. In Puerto Rico, never called the N-word, ever. Because, of course, they're not American. They're not from the South. Everybody's Puerto Rican. And as long as you're doing the traditions, acting like you're from the island, after you're there, you're from the island, actually, because you're going to speak Spanish, you're going to read it, you're going to write it, and you have the slang. They can't even tell you're not from there because everybody's all different colors. So that's what I loved about Puerto Rico. That was a lesson in itself. And in Europe is somewhat like America, because the immigrants that were brought out from Africa and things like that are also in the Eurozone. So they treat immigrants, people of color, a little bit differently, but not quite like in America, because people of color have been for centuries. They've always intermingled, right? So it's not as major as in the United States. So over there you just go around. There was never no. In fact, I've never even had a problem in the Eurozone, quite frankly, even though I know that there's problems here or there, but I've never had a problem in the Eurozone. So, but I've never been to Germany yet either. I'm just saying. But I'm just saying, there's a bunch of stuff that I can keep going on and on and on about that you guys would be like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Stories just keep coming up. And speaking of, I'll end this. This will be the last thing I'm going to tell you. So one day, it's around 1987, 88. This is when I'm at Delta Dental. This lady comes, and she's a new hire, but she's older. She's like, So I'm like maybe 25, 26. She's probably 40. So significantly. Oh, she's like 40 to 45, let's say. She sits down next to me. Her last name is Collinsworth. I'm in California. And of course, I don't even think nothing of it. I'm just like, okay, Collinsworth. Yeah, there's several of them around, whatever. She works there about a week or two. And they assign her to sit next to me. Her desk is next to me. So after a couple of days, I just sit there and I'm just like, you know what? I have to talk to you about something, because your last name is Collinsworth. And at the University of Florida, I told her the story about this guy named Collinsworth that used to play for them, All-American. And I give her the story, and you know what she says? Yeah, that's my nephew. It was funny as hell. She's like, that's my nephew. Yeah, we're related. I was like, oh my God, are you seriously? She's like, yeah, that's like my brother or sister's kid. I was like, good, this is a small ass world. So all kind of stuff has happened, all kind. And at University of Florida, guys that I went with, played with, sports with, went to school with in Puerto Rico. I'm also sitting at the business center. bookstore. Another day, my guy that I used to be, me and him were like thick as thieves. He had 3, 4 sisters. Teddy. All of a sudden one day I see like these nice, okay, they're like Puerto Rican. And I see these 4 like beautiful women walking up. They're like, let's call it 50 yards away, coming up to the bookstore. I'm looking at them and I'm like, damn, they look cute. As they get closer, I'm like, one of them I'm looking at like, that looks like Teddy's sister. Then I get closer, I'm like that looks like his other sister. I'm like, this can't be. That is all of his sisters. Now, mind you, I haven't seen Teddy and those guys 4 or 5 years. So, of course, they're older. We're older. I wouldn't recognize them because they're all beautiful. And they get closer and they recognize me, though. They're like, Eric, what are you doing here? I was like, what are you doing here? You guys never said anything about Florida? They're like, yeah, we're all here. And Teddy's down at Satellite Beach or someplace like, I think it was Satellite Beach or Jupiter, somewhere like that. I was like, you guys live here? They're like, yeah, we moved to Florida. I was like, I'll be damned. So, yeah, crazy stuff over and over and over. My next door neighbor in New Jersey, we were, my dad's in the military. I told you, we move around. Next door neighbor in New Jersey, he was always telling me while we're going to the bus in high school, he would tell me, hey, man, I'm going to be in the forestry division. I'm going to North Carolina, U of N, UNC. They have the best forest division of all. So we're all like, I don't know, 13, 15. Yeah, we're 14, 15. And he's telling me all this stuff, right? And he's on my direct next door neighbor. He's always spouting this. I'm going to be that. I'm like, all right, man, you never know what you're going to be. Well, by the time you get 17 and a senior, he's like, I'm going there. University of Florida is huge. We have eating places all over campus. Back then, they probably have way more now, but back then, you could walk like a quarter to a half a mile. There'll be another eating location. So it seemed to me like a half a mile. I'll just tell you, I don't know for real, but it seemed like a half a mile. So I'm walking to another location because, well, women, girl, but she lives past it, but I'm like hungry. So I stop in at this eating mini restaurant, buffet place, whatever. And the next thing you know, I get a tray, I put it on down. There's this dude next to me, and this dude next to me has a hat on, and he's asking the lady, he says, hey, can I get whatever? And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, in my head, I'm just like, that sounds just like my next door neighbor from New Jersey. But nah, he said he's going to go to the best forestry school, which was University of North Carolina or something. So I'm just blowing it off. But now, after he does the second order, I'm like, he sounds dead on my neighbor. So finally, after the third section, I tap him and I say, hey, man. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. I say, hey, man. I had to get this little bug that popped up. I said, hey, man. You won't believe this, but my next door neighbor, you sound just like him. And he looks at me and he's like, Eric? I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You said you were going to go to UNC. That was the best forestry school. He goes, nah, man, University of Florida is the best forestry school now. That's why I'm here. All kind of crazy stuff. I can't remember his name, but it's funny as hell. So anyhow, story's over, ladies and gentlemen. This will be a long story tonight. It's not, oh man, 3 hours I think we did. And I did story for an hour, but I got more. So don't worry about it. Some of you are new here. You haven't heard some of the stories. Some of you have heard some of those stories before. I just want to tell you, I got a ton more. That's just the start of and there's stories that I left out from all those stories. All right. Because I still haven't given you the other stories. I got a Seabury story at U of F. I got the first day I started at U of F, and I'll just put it at this story. I'll put that in and then I'll cut it off. The first day I get to the dorm, set my bags down. And while I'm sitting my bags down in my room, I've told this story before. I'll do it short. I set my bags down, and the guy, and I'm there like a week before. Okay, so I set my bags down, and while I set my bags down, it's like 4 o'clock in the day ish, somewhere in there. And a guy comes and he says, "Hey man, you coming to the party?" I said, "Party? What are you talking about? The school hasn't even started." He goes, "I know, but the dorm next door to us has a basement, and they have a DJ, all you can eat, and there's a party going on right now." So what I'm going to do right now is I need to catch this little bug right here real quick. So what I'm going to do is one of these.
Come on, come on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll end it with this at U of F stories. First day on campus, all bad. This is why it went all bad. One of the reasons I'd attributed to it. Remember, I'm a California kid. Remember, in California, you have to be 21 to drink. So I don't really drink. I mean, there's no reason. I'm a sports guy. I don't really drink, don't do anything. I have had a few drinks because on my senior trip, that's the first time they talked me into actually drinking because I don't like beer. So they had some other wine or something like that. So I wasn't really a drinker or nothing. But I get there, set down my bags. Dudes come to my door and says, "Hey, man, there's a party." I go down and I'm thinking, okay, well, who's going to be here a week before school? And sure enough, I'm completely wrong. The whole campus or whatever must know about this or something because there's enough people. Downstairs basement, how much? I don't know. Maybe they're like 1,000 square feet, maybe something like that. But anyhow, who cares? It's a little dim in there. They have the lights turned on for a party. And sure enough, there's women in here. Beautiful women in here in this party area. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And then they have what we called the, what was that? Jungle juice? Was that the call? I can't remember what we used to call it. But anyhow, this special made juice blend, I know how to make it to this day. Packs of Kool-Aid, some, you had the, the alcohol, clear. We called it clear. Clear alcohol, which was basically 100%, not the rubbing kind, but the alcohol, liquor, 100%. They would throw that clear in there. They would throw in, it would call something punch. But anyhow, what else did we throw in there? Oranges, Kool-Aids, 7-Up, Sprite, clear. Yeah, crazy stuff. So anyhow, that's on the menu. So it tastes good. You can't even smell the alcohol. It was so mixed right. Food, DJ, party. 5, 6 in the day, party. 7, 8. All of a sudden, this girl I've been vibing with, she says, "Hey, can you take me to my dorm?" And I'm thinking, I haven't even checked out the U of F campus. All I've been to is the basketball, football, stadiums, dorm, and then the immediate area. So I'm thinking, I didn't even know how big U of F was. I'm thinking, oh, okay, your dorm must be around here somewhere. There's dorms here. There's dorms like next door. There's dorms like you can see next over from there. So I'm like, okay, she must be meaning right here. Next thing I know, It's dark. It's like 9 at night. We walk. We keep walking. Next thing I know, it's like a mile over or something, it seems. I wouldn't even know how to get back. I'm like, this is crazy. So we keep walking. Now it's dark. I don't want to leave her. I don't want to say just go yourself because nobody's even out. And at that time, which I didn't really know, there was some abductions going on at the U of F that year. So anyhow, that's a whole nother story. But anyhow, so now she lives in the all-girls dorm, come to find out. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good night. I'm thinking we're all adults. So I don't know about what I'm about to tell you about. I don't know. We go up to the 3rd floor. That's what room she was on. And she had her own room, no roommate. So I'm loving life. My first day, we're young. This is all good. So me and her cuddling up, doing whatever, having fun, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a good night for me. All of a freaking sudden, I hear in the courtyard downstairs, 3 levels down in the middle of the courtyard, I hear these women, now women, not girls, women, saying, we got a man in the building. Everybody needs to come out. That's what I hear. I'm just like, my first night. And now I'm talking to her like, what's going on? She goes, oh, that's our RA or whatever she called it. Residence assistants or whatever. She's like, we're not supposed to have guys in the building past whatever time, she said. I'm like, what? We're all over 18? What the hell? 18 and over, right? She's like, yeah, I'm like 20. I'm like, so what's the problem here? She's like, yeah, but that's the rules. I'm just like, oh, and there I'm like, so what's going to happen? She's like, I think you're going to have to get some sort of reprimand or something. I don't know. I never had this happen. So I'm like sweating bullets. I'm like, oh, this is going to affect some things. School ain't even started and I got something that's going to happen to me. Next thing I know, this is unbelievable. They go to the 1st floor. The girls are actually going outside in the courtyard while they're searching each and every room. And I'm like, oh my God, it's over. I'm like, this is serious if they're doing all this. So they go through the 1st floor. There's like 30, 40 girls outside. They go through the 2nd floor. Another 30, 40 girls gone out. Literally, they're just standing out there. They're coming up to the 3rd floor. I'm on the 3rd floor. After about 2 minutes, I hear, we found him. We found him. They're not at my room. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. I don't believe this. They're like, we found him. You girls can go back in, is all I heard. I'm like, oh my God. This is like the best life ever has just started. So that's when things go off the charts from there on, because from that point on, it's party central at the U of F. So anyhow, that's the last story I'm giving tonight. Eric, you need a Netflix series of your life stories. Hey, Paul Castillo, like I said, my friend Jim, he keeps calling me up saying, because look, we're all getting older and he can't really remember everything because Jimmy, this white dude, Jimmy, is like a black guy. He's not playing a black guy. He is a black guy. He just has a white skin. He is taking me in Sacramento to the black side of town to place this hole in the walls that I would never go to. He's like, hey, meet me down here at Cheers. I'm like, man, you know where Cheers is? It's like the thing is only like 500 square feet and stuff kind of happens sometimes there. We get there. They call him Cornbread. I'm like, what did they just? Cornbread? Are you serious right now? He's like, yeah, man, they call me Cornbread. He's playing dominoes, beating people out of money for dominoes, black guys. He's sitting in there talking all this mess, drinking, talking, man. I'm like, what the hell? He hangs out there apparently. Now, remind you of this. When I met Jimmy on the basketball court, he was married and he was a Mormon. That's how I met him 2 years earlier. 2 years later, now all of a sudden he's out drinking, he's out gambling, he's out hanging on the black side of town at the Elk Club, at these little bars that I would never go to. I'm on the south side, but I don't go to those places. I go to a little nicer places. He's hanging in those places. That's a whole nother story in itself. But yeah, man. Yeah, I got a lifetime of stories. Everclear. That's it. Yeah, we used to call it Clear. That's exactly what it was, Everclear. And I don't even know if they make that anymore. But Everclear with some packs of Kool-Aid. I don't even think they make them anymore. They're already sugar in them. You pour 2 of them. We had buckets. And so after, of course, I'm a freshman. So once I learned how to make it once, now everybody wanted me to make it every time we had a party. Because I knew the ingredients. And if we didn't want to make a bucket and they just wanted to make a punch bowl, I could make it the punch bowl level because I knew actually how much to put in the parts. So everybody would come over to our parties. They think they're drinking. Okay, first of all, we told them that there's alcohol in there. But everybody thought Killer Punch. I thought it was junk. It was called Killer Punch. So everybody thought they were drinking punch. And we would say it's Killer Punch. It has alcohol in it. But they would be like, ha, 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 you're right, you're joking. This is Kool-Aid or it's punch. We don't taste any alcohol in here. I said, yeah, that's by design. That's where the 7-Up and Sprite and all the Kool-Aid that has sugar in it, so it tastes like punch. You can't even smell the alcohol. So needless to say, it was serious damage. Mad Dog 2020. No, we didn't never mess with that, man. Oh, I'll put it this way. That Mad Dog 2020 at my senior trip at Yosemite, that's what the dudes busted out. Because literally, you're 18 years old. You can't drink in California. You can't go buy alcohol. But of course, where there's a will, there's a way. Of course, if you're a basketball stars or football stars, some liquor store owner that's outside the gates of your high school, they'll let you get stuff, and that's what happened. So these guys go to some liquor store, and some liquor store, now some of us are 17, like me, they let you go to the liquor store, and they let these guys go get some alcohol. So yeah, you go, they got all the ones you heard about in the movies. Mad Dog 2020. I'm thinking since it's in the movies, oh, it must be good. There's another one too that everybody used to talk about. But anyhow, they have that. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me right now? I finally got that little bug. So I'm sitting there like, okay, I guess, these guys know I don't drink. I've been to high school. We've been to parties before. They've all, some of the guys on the team might drink. I never really drank because I didn't really like alcohol. So, but my senior trip, I'm hanging and these guys are like, hey, are you going to drink? And I'd be like, nah. Then these guys go, yeah, but we got some Mad Dog 2020 and that other crap. So I tasted it. I spit it out. I was like, dudes, I don't know where's the 7-Up or something. I was like, nah, man, this stuff is bad. And so the other thing was, I told you I was going to make the last story, but this goes back even further. But the senior trip was a whole nother ball game because the guys there, I didn't smoke weed. I still don't. So weed makes me go to sleep. It doesn't do what it does for everybody else. I don't get high. I get high, but it just makes me feel like something hazy. It's like I'm going through something. It doesn't get me high like that. It just makes it hazy. And in 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be night. I'll be asleep. So it interacts with me. If I ever had a sleeping disorder, all I got to do is smoke some weed. I'll be out 15, 20 minutes. So that didn't work. So I tried a little bit of that stuff, out like a baby, but that's a long time after. But the fact is that at the Yosemite trip, some of the druggy guys, because I've always been the guy, no, I don't drink. I don't really do any drugs at all. So that night, some of the guys all got together, and 3 or 4 guys, and they were making people drink or smoke weed, and most people would give in. And because it's like that, those guys, the guys that are a little ruckus, and the guys that can force people because they're in a mob, so they come up to me while I'm at Yosemite with my guy that's going to Cal Berkeley to play for the football, and he played on the basketball team too. Jimmy Stewart. He plays for Cal Berkeley DB. He got ran over when, hey, go see highlights of Herschel Walker playing Cal, and there's a DB that tries to come up and tackle him, and Herschel Walker runs over him. That's Jimmy. You'll find that highlight. That's Jimmy. But he was there, and because Jimmy was there, the other dudes rolled up, and Jimmy's a nice guy. And they rolled up and they were like trying to force me. They were like, "No, man, you need to smoke weed with us. You need to do something with us." And I'm like, "Guys, you already know my status. I don't F around." So that was the only time I might have had to fight some of my classmates. But Jimmy was like, "Yo, man, he don't do nothing." And then finally they're like, "Yeah, man, all right, whatever. We'll go." But yeah, these guys were trying to fight me over drinking or getting high. It was crazy. All right, so that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Enough people heard my stories. It made people go to sleep. But I want to thank everybody for being here. I love you guys very much. And maybe one of these days we'll get into some other stories, because you guys see I have these things that I've shown, and I have plenty of stories to tell, because you guys know I've been at the Park City at the Sundance Film Festival on several occasions. I was down to the famed Playboy Mansion several occasions. Some of you may not know I used to play poker, and yes, I know Daniel Negreanu. Yes, I know some other Gus Hansons, and I know these guys that are famous. I played with them, partied with them. All these guys, we know each other, but I ain't been playing poker for like over 10, 15 years now. All of that people don't know about. I was a professional poker player. There's so much stuff, man. All the stuff you see, some of these highlights that I play, or some of these videos I play, it's only because I wasn't into social media. I was not the guy that kept clips of everything. So how I got some of these clips is because my wife was with me in the 2000s. I got married to her in 2003. So anything after that time, which is what you may see, is only because anything recorded or anything, I would either throw it away, didn't care, never cared about pictures. Social media didn't exist. So that's why I never cared about any pictures. So these clips that I'm showing you are just clips that the wife might have found, or I might have found in storage in the garage. And I'd be like, "Oh, unbelievable," because nobody believes what I'm telling them. And so that's why I had these clips, because I would tell people, "Yeah, I went to the Playboy Mansion." And I tell them, "Yeah, I know who Hugh is, and I know some of those little girlfriends and stuff like that." The wife knows them more than me, because I didn't, once again, I have a type. And then plus I'm married at the time. So I'm not playing with those guys. So nobody believed me. And so that's why I made it in my head. Every time I go to the Playboy Mansion, I would tell my friends, I would say, "Hey, you guys are coming." And they'd be like thinking I was lying, just like what happened when I told people, "Come and meet me at the Super Bowl in San Francisco. I'll get you into the DirecTV with whoever the superstar show is. I'll get you into the Maxim on the island, the Maxim party with what you call them, Lil Wayne and will.i.am and whoever." I told people, "Come meet me there," right? And everybody here, I said, when it was in Atlanta, I said, "Hey, meet me. We're going to the Sports Illustrated party with Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne, whatever, and I'll get you in." And I gave people all these things, right? And obviously I was new, so nobody believed me. People would be like, "Nah, man, we ain't going to show up, because when we show up, you're going to be like, 'Nah, you don't have no tickets to this stuff.'" And I'm like, "I got more than tickets. You guys didn't know, but I had more than tickets. I don't have just tickets. I got tickets that basically is all access. I have all access all the time. So that's why I wouldn't even have pictures, because I wasn't into taking pictures before. Then I found some because the wife would have some. And so that's how I was able to put these on here. And then I would look at my phone, or my phone from the previous generation of phones I used, and I'd be like, oh, damn, here's a video. Here's something that I had. And that's the only reason you guys even have these pictures. So that's the funny part. Nobody believes you when you're doing it. So that's when I had to start bringing my friends. And I've always brought my friends. I mean, like in 2003, damn, I can keep going. 2003, the Super Bowl was in San Diego. The guy that you guys know is Willie. He works at Toyota. He's a friend of mine. Known him for like 10, 12 years at the time. He works at Toyota in Fremont, where Tesla is now, or used to be, which is now what's Fisker. Fisker now has their plant. But anyhow, he was working there. He says, I went off for the Super Bowl. They grant him to get off for the Super Bowl with the Raiders, and Raiders lost. So whoever they were playing, I don't remember. But anyhow, he has his time off. He has to do it was like 4 or 5 months before. So I call up Will, because I told him, get down here on Thursday, because we're going to the Playboy Mansion, or the Playboy party at the Science Technology Center. And I said, we're going to try to go to the Maxim party, which is at the warehouse. I said, but we're going to be staying at that blue place in Oceanside, which is 45 minutes away, but it's easy to come down on 5 and get to the downtown location in San Diego. It was easy at that time. So they still had the mall there, actually, downtown. It's not there anymore. But anyhow, and so he's getting ready to leave, or his boss, he's telling his boss 3 days or 4 days before, he goes, yeah, you gave me them days off. His boss was like, you're going to the Super Bowl? No, you can't get those days off. Hating. I was like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, yeah, man, they just told me. It's like a Tuesday or Monday. He's like, they just told me I can't get the days off on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Thursday, Friday, like I was supposed to. I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. Does he not know that you're going to the Playboy party and the Maxim party? That's why you got to be down here. And by the way, man, I'm gonna be hanging out with we got an underground party on Thursday. You got to come on Thursday. He's like, why Thursday? I said, the girls from 90210, Rosario Dawson, the light. She's going to be at the private party downstairs. There's only going to be like 20, 30, 40 people there. You got to be there. I got tickets for that. He's like, no way. He can't come. His boss wouldn't let him off. So anyhow, that's a whole nother story, but he wouldn't let him off. So I have the girl that was in what do you call that? Denzel Washington, the one he won an Academy Award for, Training Day. When he goes down the street in the Vato neighborhood, where one of his girls were at the end of the street that lived in the condo. One of the girls that was on the back of one of the little Vato's bike actually was a friend of mine, and she lived in San Diego. So I invite her to come with me. And then we get down there, and Tom Arnold's there. Of course, Rosario Dawson's there. The other girl that everybody knows from 90210. I can't remember her name. It's very popular. All of them, they're all there. They're sitting down. We're in the VIP section. Tom Arnold, the coolest dude ever. He's cool. The girl from 90210, she's kind of weird. The Rosario Dawson, cool. Most people were cool. Tom Arnold's cool. So we're talking, sitting next to each other. So the reason why that matters is because the next part of the story that I'll tell you guys, I've told you before. So now the party's over, have a nice time, beautiful, whatever. So on Friday night, we're there. And now Will, his boss, he argues with his boss all week. His boss finally says on Thursday, all right, you can go. but you can't go until after this shift today. So fine. But the party for the Playboy is on Saturday. And come to find out, they tell Will, no, you got to come in on your shift on Friday. It's crazy stuff. I can't remember the days though, but the end result is we're sitting there and the whole party, we're going downtown, Gaslight District, the coolest Super Bowl party would ever be in San Diego. That's the coolest spot. The Gaslamp District is the spot. So we're going down, and I realize while I'm there, I don't have any clothes, at least for the parties I want to go to. So I literally stop in a store. So it must have been Friday night, actually. I stop in a store, or Saturday. I can't remember which day, but I stop in the store in the daytime. A guy takes my measurements, does everything, and gets me a suit and hooked up. He says, come back at like 9 at night, 8 at night, whatever it was, and I'll have you hooked up. So that's how I get a suit. Okay, so while we're waiting around all day long, my friends hang with me. Some of them are staying at Elks, Lawrence Welks. I hook them up with villas at the Lawrence Welks because I was going to stay there because it's easy to drive off of 15 and drop into downtown as well. So I was going to stay there because that's closer than Oceanside. But when all of a sudden my friend said, no, I'm going to add a few more friends because he did say, come on down. I got tickets to the Playboy party. And so I was like, I couldn't fault them. So they brought like 5 guys. So now it's 7 guys. When Will comes down, it's 7. So I tell my friends, I said, you know what? I got extra places because just in case one of you guys wanted your own spot, I got 3 there and I got 1 in Oceanside and you guys stay over here. So anyhow, we're all downtown. We start walking around the mall. Hardly anybody's in the mall except Anthony Anderson. That's right. The guy that does game shows, the guy that's hee ha ha, right? That guy. He just did Jumpin' Jack Flash in Australia or whatever. He's walking around with the Tennessee Titans gear on. And we run into him at the Foot Locker, I think it was, or whatever, some shoe store. It was Foot Locker or the other one. And we start messing around with him. And he's just sitting there talking. No bodyguards, no nothing. He just has this girl with him. That's his assistant. So we're joking around with him for 5 minutes. We're taking pictures. He's having fun. We're sitting in there before we leave 15, 20 minutes. All right, we're leaving out like we're boys. And of course, messing with them about wearing that Tennessee Titans BS. But anyhow, so meet him. And so now we're getting ready to go. Will comes after he has to drive from Oak Bay area all the way down to San Diego. That's like a 10-hour drive. So that must have been like, I think it was Friday night instead of Saturday night. But anyhow, whatever the night it was, because Thursday was Tom Arnold, Friday night, it was probably Friday night is the reason why I say is because the next night, I'm supposed to get tickets from my friend Paul that has, he sells airplanes, jets. And so Paul's son works for ESPN. And Paul's son was supposed to have the tickets for me. So I called Paul and I said, hey, man, I've been trying to reach your son to get the tickets to the Playboy party. He's like, yeah, I'm not coming. My son, I don't know where he is or what he's doing, but he got hemmed up with doing something for ESPN, setting up something, whatever. I said, are you kidding me right now? I got like my boys are with me. He goes, no, my son told me, don't go through the front entrance, go through the back entrance and you'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, without any tickets, without anything. He's like, yeah, that's the thing. Only the VIP know about the back entrance. They'll let you in. I said, all right, if that's what I got to go with, that's what I'll go with. So now I gather up the fellas. Will from Oakland, he makes it all the way down. We're at the Science. We pull in to the back. Will comes just now pulls in because we all have cell phones even back then, right? So Will just now pulls in to the Science Center. And in the back, there's 2 guards, so to speak, bouncers, whatever you want to call them. Nobody needs a pass. So who's walking out is like it's some musician. He's famous. I just can't remember who it is. It's a black guy. And he says, "What's up?" And I'm like, "What's up, man? How you doing?" And I've seen him before during Thursday, and I was there Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, I've seen him. So we like seen each other. So it was like, "What's up?" So the bouncer dudes, they assume, okay, they're VIP. So they let us walk through. Will's like 15, 20 feet behind us. All of a sudden, the bouncer dudes go, hey, where you going? To Will. And so I'm like, Will, hurry up. Come on, man. And the bouncer dudes are still like, hey, you got your pass or ID or whatever. We're already past these dudes. Unbelievably, at the Science Center, from where you walk in from parking in the back, they have these little round areas, seating areas. Like, well, they used to. I don't know if they still do, but little foyer areas where people are sitting down and they're drinking. And they have curtains around it. But in this case, the curtain is open to the back. Guess who's sitting on one of those areas? Tom Arnold. So when they're hemming him up, Tom Arnold with a cigar in his mouth and a fucking robe, he sits there and starts waving. Hurry up. You guys get in here. And then the bouncers hear them and then they let Will in. And that's how we get into the first Playboy party, just like that. And then from that point on, it's always the Playboy party and the Maxim parties. But that's the first time that I went into the Super Bowl parties, and they used to be big back then. So everybody has to understand they're not what they are now. Now they're just junk. But back then, all you can eat, all you can drink, seating, Playboy mates, women, everybody, a who's who. They had a red carpet out front. So we coming back, and one of the most beautiful women on the planet, Jane Seymour. You guys, she's the most underrated, beautiful woman on the planet. Maybe not now because she's a lot older, but 20 years ago, when she maybe have only been 30 something, I don't know how old she is, but all I know is I see her at the front at the red carpet. I'm sitting in there and I see her coming in and I'm just like, no way. She's with like this old dude that's okay. He seems like he's 70. Let's just put it that way. And then she's with another dude that looks like he may be 60. And this girl comes in and I'm just like, oh my God, she's beautiful as hell, right? I've seen her before, but in person, TV does her no justice. She is more beautiful than you know. They put makeup on her to get her beauty down. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, I'm pretty sure if you go look at some of that, you will see, what's his name? Wasn't it Billy Ray Cyrus? Was her sidekick, I think, or whatever? Go see some of his interviews. When he says she's the most beautiful woman, he'll probably say they probably doctor her to make her look even less than beautiful than she is. She is beautiful, gorgeous, all natural. So when I see her rolling in, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious right now? So of course I have to come up and talk with her. So the guys are coming down and I said, do you see who that is? They're like, you ain't talking to her. Are you crazy? I said, you best believe. I roll up to her and I'm like, oh my God, I had to see you up in person because you are beautiful, gorgeous. Just like, I can't believe it. And you can act. And then she starts talking. Yeah, how you doing? Nice to meet you. The two older dudes just walk off. They're with her, but they move down like 10, 15 feet because they know she's just going to talk. She's just talking to me. And I'm just sitting there talking. And then this dude comes and interrupts. This guy, he's like from New York with the accent. He's like, yeah, man, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, I see Jane Seymour's here. And I'm like, yeah, man, this is like, I just wanted to talk with her for a second, even though, you know, I'm going to be married probably shortly. So I can't even really do anything. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'll see you later. And I tell her my name again. And then I say, hey, I never see her again in my life. Don't have phone numbers, but it doesn't matter. I wasn't trying to get it. And so this guy who interrupted, he starts talking. he starts going, hey, man, the way you're talking, it seems like you're from Northeast New. Are you from New York? Or because the way you have these little slangs, it's like sounds like you're from New York. To some of the things you say. I said, no, man, I used to live in Jersey though. So yeah, some people have said sometimes I have this Jersey, New York thing. So then he says, hey man, I like your style. He's like, I actually do tickets in New York for the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Islanders. He starts listing all this stuff. He goes, I can get tickets for any event in New York, and you don't have to pay. You'll be in the boxes. You can be in the suites. It's just like for you, because I like you, I'll just charge you like $100. And so from the rest of that, the rest of life, it starts being history. Because now I meet all these people and they're just like, well, if you want to come to the party next year, you want to go here, I can hook you up. I got you. And so that's how things started going from that point on. And the next thing you know, I'm doing all kind of crazy stuff. So I'll tell you guys stories of all kind of stuff later. So we're going to wrap it up. I did the story night that I haven't done, and I covered a lot of stuff. So therefore, hopefully you guys enjoyed part of that. And people who watch this on replay, let me know what you guys think about all these parties, all this stuff I was telling you about. And like I said, the muted version, because I'm not even going to go into before I had my daughters. So, but we'll have to leave some of these things out. But nonetheless, I've had one long ride, and I'm not going to trade it for anybody. Nobody in the world. No money can buy it. Nobody can get me off of this. If somebody says, whose life would you trade for? I will say Eric Bird's. I'm not trading it for nobody else's. So with all that said, what is your journey? Make sure you get you know what we were talking about tonight. Do you want to be wealthy? Then you better look in here in the chat room and go link and see what the wealthy are buying. Homes, equities, bonds, art, a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, a little bit of precious metals. 2% from the ultra wealthy, but I say 5% is good. Not 2%, but 5%. And get some commercial property or something that gives you passive income. That's what you're going to need. So it's very simple. So with all that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And that's why we have to give you stories and inspiration sometimes. I haven't given stories in a while. That's the longest ones I've ever done. I've told some of these, most of these before, a lot of these. But now everybody gets a conglomeration and a shorter version. But we have more. All right? Because we haven't even gotten to the last 20 years. There's more. So with all that said, thank you again. I love you very much for being here. Don't forget to smash the like buttons. Make sure you don't forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to become a member of the channel, please do that as well. But if you're going to subscribe, it's free. And also, make sure you click the all notification bell and tell other friends. Come over here. If you want to be wealthy, you want to be able to do any place, anytime, anywhere, then you've joined the club. All right. And we have several people who's about to be on their journey. And that also includes Mr. and Mrs. Cool, because they're going to maybe even go over to Spain because they have an advantage, just like I have an advantage for doing something in France. And that gives you advantages to be able to do business worldwide, more than you would know. All right. So it's very, very interesting how this all works out. So again, be safe out here, because you never know what somebody's going through, because 70% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck. And with all that said, keep your head up, keep moving, and I'm out.